All right. Looks like we are live. Good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. This is going to be Tech Thursdays, episode 149. There is some interesting developments in the PC DIY space that has come out this week regarding Intel and AMD. Some new CPUs have been announced. Some new CPUs have launched. We're going to talk about that on this episode of Tech Thursdays. So if you're into computer building, which I know a lot of my audience is, this is going to be a more interesting one. I may talk about some other stuff that I've been working on that are not really related to the YouTube channel, and one of the reasons why I was not live last week, the reason why Tech Thursdays was canceled. Now, if you tuned in, I believe the last episode, the last episode, which would have been 2 weeks ago, back on the 12th of March, I believe at the end of the episode, I did announce that the following episode, which would have been March 19th, was going to be canceled. I definitely announced it during the weekend live stream, so that would have been like the 14th, the 15th, the 13th of this month. So if you're wondering, if you tried to tune in last Thursday, wondering like, where's Tech Thursdays? Where's my favorite tech show on the internet? Well, yeah, it was canceled. I've been really busy with stuff outside of the YouTube channel, just related to work and things like that. I've been involved in like a big project with telecommunications type things. We can talk about some of that. If you guys want to know more of what I do outside of the YouTube channel, we can definitely talk about that later in the stream. But I do want to focus a good chunk of this episode on the new announcement, which literally I just saw this. So we are going to talk about another CPU that launched this week, or was reviewed this week on Monday. The Intel Core Ultra 7 and the Core Ultra 5. The Ultra 7 270K Plus and the Core Ultra 5 250K Plus. They've been reviewed on Tech Power Up. We're just going to look at Tech Power Up's review. I did look at the Core Ultra 7's review. I have not looked at the Core Ultra 5's review. But as soon as I logged in, as soon as I got ready to go live, I saw this announcement on Tech Power Up's website. I saw this, and I was thinking, wait, is this like an early April Fool's joke? I was like, wait a minute, hold on. It's not April yet, so it can't be an April Fool's joke. And then I saw this stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute. This looks for real. This looks crazy. Massive source code builds, including Unreal Engine and Chromium. All scores up to 13% faster than the world's fastest CPU for everything right now, the 9950X3D. Yes, the 9950X3D, the very CPU that I am using for this very live stream. Here it is. Task Manager, the AMD Ryzen 9. You can see it right there on the screen. This is my task manager on the computer that I'm streaming on. Ryzen 9 9950X3D. The fastest computer that you could have as an enthusiast right now consists of the Ryzen 9 9950X3D paired up with the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5090. This is like the most powerful combo for a do-everything PC. It can game the best. It can shred through compiling shaders the best. It can render videos the best. It has integrated graphics in the form of the Radeon, what do they call it? The 310 something, whatever. I forgot what it's called, the 210 something. It's like some kind of Radeon chip. If anybody knows what the name of the integrated graphics on the current Zen 5 Ryzen desktops are, let us know in the chat. I remember the name, but I'm drawing a blank right now. But yeah, so it has the really good integrated graphics. You can pair it up with the GeForce RTX or one of the Radeon graphics cards, or you could even pair it up with an Intel professional graphics card, like this one right here, the Intel Arc Pro B50 graphics with 16 gigs of VRAM. So we literally have Intel graphics, AMD integrated graphics, NVIDIA GeForce graphics, and the Ryzen 9950X3D, as well as 96 gigabytes of DDR5 running at 6400 megatransfers, 4 sticks of memory, 4 out of 4, 4 times 24 gigabytes. This is the ultimate dream PC for a PC DIY enthusiast. It has a 5090, a 9950X3D, 16 core, 32 thread, 96 gigabytes of memory, 4 sticks of memory to look so good with the RGB on all 4 RAM sticks running at that 6400 megatransfers. No problem. So, but now, oh, and by the way, the motherboard is known as the MSI X870E Godlike. So yeah, this is the ultimate enthusiast PC. This is my most enthusiast type build that I have done. It has the 5090, it has another graphics card, it has the 16 core 32 threads super fast with X3D. But now, let's put this away. Now there's another CPU out there. The 9950X3D2. Now AMD has my attention again, because we were about to shift focus to Intel, but then all of a sudden, this is an example. AMD is pulling an NVIDIA on Intel the way NVIDIA used to always pull an NVIDIA on Radeon. What do I mean by that? AMD launches, the year is 2013. AMD launches the Radeon R9 290X, and it becomes the world's fastest consumer gaming graphics card on the planet. It defeats the GTX 780. What does NVIDIA do? Right after the 290X launches, NVIDIA whips out the 780 Ti. 780 Ti to steal AMD's thunder, basically raining on Team Red's parade. This sort of announcement is literally a 780 Ti type announcement, because right as Intel launches this thing and everyone, the world, Sauron's eye, and everyone looks toward Intel again, all of a sudden draw their attention away. Everybody looks away, look over here, look what we got. That's exactly what this is. This is literally Ryzen pulling a GeForce on Intel the same way GeForce pulls a fast one on Radeon. It's the same thing. So it's a leapfrog thing. So first, well, let's talk about this, I guess, because this is the most interesting thing I've seen. I was not expecting this. You guys know we've been talking about CPU roadmaps what feels like at least 3 months now. And I knew this existed. I just didn't expect them to create this as an actual mass-produced product. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with this. So let's look at the article from Tech Power Up. AMD today launched... Did they really launch it, or did they just announce it? Like, I don't know if this is the correct word, man. AMD today announced the Ryzen 9 9950 X3D2 dual edition socket AM5 desktop processor. This processor is positioned above, keyword above, the Ryzen 9 9950 X3D, and is the much awaited implementation of 3D Vcache on both CCDs. The 16-core 32 thread is based on the Zen 5. I remember I told you guys, I said Zen 5 is going to be a very long-lived architecture. They're going to refresh their entire stack with Zen 5, and they did, because they did Ryzen 9000 on desktop, they did Ryzen AI 300 Strix Point on mobile, and that's all Zen 5. Then they did Ryzen AI Max, which was the Strix Halo, that's also Zen 5. So everything that AMD has been doing that is the pinnacle of performance is all Zen 5. It's all Zen 5. Features a total of 192 megabytes of shared L3 cache. That's 32 megabytes of on-die L3 plus 64 megabytes of 3D Vcache that's contiguous with it across both CCDs. This enables the maximum possible gaming performance as worker threads of the game can be located on either of the two CCDs and benefit from large last level cache. The base clock is 4.3, the boost clock is 5.6, 100 megahertz lower than the 9950 X3D, and the same clocks as the 9850 X3D. So keep in mind, AMD recently launched another CPU, the 9850 X3D. So this one, the 9950 X3D2, is the true enthusiast CPU. Because the 9850 X3D, that's kind of like that mainstream gamer type, like super high-end gamer type thing. It's for the gamers. The 9950 X3D2 is for the real deal. Like, this is like the true enthusiast CPU. Someone like me, I don't pay attention to the 9850 X3D. I don't pay attention to the 9800 X3D. We covered it, but I didn't go out and buy a 9850 X3D because I have a 9950 X3D. But 9950 X3D2, that has my interest. That's something that I want to get. That's what I'm going to get. I ain't going to get no 9850 X3D. But I am probably, most likely, very high probability, we're talking 90% chance that I will spend money to buy the 9950 X3D2. The AMD, in a market where there's like nothing, like as a hardware enthusiast, I mean, you guys know I have all the memory. I don't have to worry about DDR5. The issue with DDR5 doesn't affect me because I stockpiled DDR5 for the last 2 years prior to this year. So it's like I don't have to deal with DDR5. I'm good. I got extra DDR5 just laying around, ready to go. Ready to go for that 9950 X3D2. We got 96 gigs extra ready in the back. Ready to go. Just sitting there in the original packaging. Mint condition. You know what I'm saying? So the AMD Ryzen 9 9950. The problem that I'm going to run into is SSDs. Like SSDs, man. I really need an SSD, and we're going to get into the reason why I need NVMe storage. I feel like I always need NVMe storage. Like I never have enough of it. I have so much DDR5, but I have like never have enough NVMe. It's crazy. Like I feel like, oh man, I need more NVMe. I didn't buy enough. But now it's like, oh no, it's so expensive. So anyway, Ryzen 9 9950 X3D 2 Dual Edition that's a weird name. Dual Edition is positioned to be the 16-core flagship part to ensure the chip has not just the most cache, but also the highest possible clock speeds in the series, and retains its overclocking capabilities. Oh man, this thing paired up with a motherboard that has base clock overclocking capabilities, like the godlike, basically any motherboard X870E that can allow for base clock overclocking, basically running it in asynchronous mode with dual clock generators on the motherboard, one for your PCIe, one for your CPU. That is going to be the way to overclock this thing to the max for 24/7 stability. And we're going to cover that on this channel. Don't worry. We've done overclocking content. I don't do a lot of overclocking content just because I feel like oftentimes what I see happening is if I put out an overclocking video, people who watch the video they feel like they can just copy paste my settings. They don't realize, even though I explain it, that there's something called silicon lottery. So what might be possible on my CPU may or may not be possible on another person's CPU. So that's the reason why I hesitate to do a lot of overclocking videos, just because I feel like oftentimes people are going to copy paste the settings because they're too lazy to do their own research or their own testing on their own CPU, and they just want a quick fix and, minimal effort. That's kind of it's human nature to be that way. So it's not like I'm saying it's bad, but the problem is if someone has a lower performing CPU in terms of silicon quality and they can't just copy my results and get the same outcome, then it's like, oh, was the video useful for them? I don't know, maybe. It's educational, I guess. Anyway, AMD expands the TDP of the processor to 200 watts, the highest ever. The highest ever for an AMD Ryzen part. AMD is offering gaming performance rivaling its latest Ryzen 7 9850X3D. Wait a minute, they're claiming that this 9950X3D2 will rival the newly released 9850X3D. The 9850X3D is currently the fastest gaming CPU in the world. And they're saying the 9950X3D2 will match the 9850X3D. Well, they say rivaling. They're using their words carefully, rivaling. So it might win some, might lose some. It's basically going to be in the same ballpark. You will never notice the difference. But with significantly improved productivity performance. Now that is what I'm talking about. This is the reason why I don't pay attention to the 9850X3D. The 9950X3D2 is what I need. I need those 32 threads. I need those 16 physical cores. I need them to be big P cores. I don't want any E cores or low power efficiency cores. I don't want any of that nonsense. I don't need that stuff in a desktop. This ain't no laptop. We don't care about battery life. That's not a metric that matters here. So give me those P cores. 16 P cores in applications with large cache data sets such as software development, AI training, and inferencing, and video production. Exactly the things that I do. This is why I need this CPU. The company's first-party productivity benchmarks show that the 3D2 posts significant single-digit percentage gains over the 9950X3D. AMD did not announce the price, but said that the dual edition will be available from April 22nd, 2026. So it's only like a little less than a month away. So very nice. Very nice. It looks, if this is the real packaging, they did some special stuff. They changed it up. They changed it up. They're going with this, well, like platinum type look. Yeah, this is unique. This is the most unique processor I've seen from them in a while. So you can see here, the 9800X3D launched November 7th of 2024. And that was a 120 watt. And you can see the revision. So the one that came out this year, 9850X3D, January 29th. Mostly the same thing. Just higher max boost frequency out of the box. We're talking 400 megahertz faster on the top two performing cores. So very good. And then the 9900X3D. This one in the middle is an interesting one. People always seem to ignore this one, but I feel like this is the one that could always be obtained on a good deal. 9900X3D often goes on sale, so if you're in the market for a higher core count, then 8. Like if you want 12 cores instead of 8 cores, you want 24 thread versus 16 thread. 9900X3D is not a bad deal. If you can find it on a pretty good price, I think it's still pretty good. The reason why I don't like it as much as 9950X3D is because, first of all, I need those max threads, I need those max cores. Second of all, the boost clock out of the box, the flagship, AMD is doing the Intel thing where Intel will basically make it such that their i9 outperforms their i7. AMD is kind of doing the same thing here because they're making their top tier part have a 200 megahertz higher boost clock over the second highest end part, so the 9900X3D. So you can see here 5.7 versus 5.5. That extra 200 megahertz allows the 16 core to outperform the 12 core in single thread. Well, also multi-thread, obviously, but in single thread because of the higher boost clock. So just keep that in mind. So the 9950X3D2 dual sounds like it's going to be very interesting. It's slightly slower than the existing flagship, which means it will actually probably lose a little bit in some benchmarks that can fully load all the threads, but also benefits from high frequency. However, anything that can just use a ton of cache, or like any kind of game that is unoptimized, you can throw so much extra last level cache at it and that will clean it up. And that's exactly what this dual thing is going to be able to do. At least in theory, that's what it's supposed to do. But AMD seems pretty confident in their multi-thread benchmarks, which is interesting because the 9950X3D is faster. In terms of pure frequency, the older CPU is faster. But AMD is showing here, at least in these benchmarks that they're showing, these are all productivity things, except for, Unreal Engine compile there, that's like 8%. So really, really interesting stuff here. Yeah, this thing's got my attention. The 9850X3D did not get my attention. This thing does have my attention. So, we'll see. It's different. That's why it has my attention. It is fundamentally different from all the other ones. So, all right, let me see. There were some people that were asking, the Fake Frames asked something earlier. I wanted to respond. I wanted to look at it. What are your thoughts on the new Intel Arc B? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about Intel Arc B50. We'll talk about that. Yeah, that would have been the B770. So I'm a little bit disappointed that there's no gaming variant, but Intel, it is clear to me that Intel is focusing on the AI and professional market with their GPUs. They're going after the money. They don't care about the gamers. They gave up on the gamers because, first of all the big influencers, like all the big tech tuber channels, basically all dogged on Intel's GPUs for the last like 4 years. It's like the A770 came out, everyone like took one look at it, and then it's like they never looked back. People did review the 580, the B580, like, a little over a year ago now, but did anybody really take it seriously? I don't know. I feel like it was lukewarm response or reception, and people at this point just don't believe in Intel GPUs for gaming. It's really weird. The most disheartening fact of the matter regarding Intel's GPUs is the fact that there's a game out there. Actually, the Dark Hero. Did we do that? That was last. That was earlier this month. Hold on. Crimson Desert. Where's Crimson Desert? Wait, PlayStation 5 Pro consoles might be about to get substantially. Okay, whatever. Who cares? No, wait. Where's that gaming article? You guys probably know what I'm gonna say. Crimson Desert. Hold on. Crimson Desert. So there's an article about how Crimson Desert doesn't even launch if you have an Intel GPU. Like if you're trying to play Crimson Desert and you have an Intel GPU, doesn't matter what Intel GPU. It could be the Alchemist, it could be the Battle Mage. Crimson Desert. Okay, right here. Oh wait, hold on, they fixed it. Okay. Crimson Desert now runs on Intel Arc GPUs. Okay, but what I was gonna say was we were gonna talk about this last week, but the episode was canceled. So right here, check this out. Intel offered hardware optimization help to Crimson Desert developer for years. The company says when you try to launch this game, I can't find the article right now, but basically, if you have an Intel GPU and you try to launch Crimson Desert, it doesn't launch the game. Like it tells you, it literally has a pop-up that tells you your GPU is not supported. Or whatever. It's like, I forgot. I saw it in like maybe it was a Reddit article or something. But now I think it's fixed. Let me see. After controversy surrounding, is this the article? Maybe it was this one. Yeah, gamers with Intel Arc GPUs hoping to have a go at Crimson Desert are in for a rude surprise. Its developer stated that the game does not support Intel Arc graphics cards. Okay, but now, according to literally Monday of this week, after the controversy of Crimson Desert not supporting Intel GPUs, to the extent the game wouldn't even launch. Yeah, that's right, it wouldn't even launch. There's no way to bypass it. It just won't launch. As a result, the game now officially boots on Intel Arc GPUs with full optimizations to follow. Okay, so apparently Intel claimed they had offered Pearl Abyss assistance, which the studio did not utilize over the past several years. What I don't understand, though, is why do they lock it down? Why don't they just let people launch the game? I guess it's like a reputation thing. They probably feel like if someone launches the game on Intel's GPU and it runs so bad and it's missing textures, you know, blocky characters, black chunks of data of the map not even rendering properly, or color issues. Like, they probably didn't want the reputational damage. They didn't want people posting Reddit articles or negative Steam reviews and showing screenshots of the game looking terrible running on Intel GPU. So they probably just disabled the ability for the game to even launch if it detects an Intel GPU, just for that reason. That's my only guess as to why a developer like Pearl Abyss would go out of their way to lock down their own game from even launching on a customer/gamer's PC where the person bought the game and can't even play it because they have an Intel GPU. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So what they did was they removed the lock. According to this, now you can launch the game. That doesn't mean it's going to run well. That doesn't mean there's going to be bugs and people start posting weird screenshots of things looking all wrong. But I don't know. I guess they're going to work on it now. It says right here, regarding Crimson Desert and Intel GPU, we're currently working on compatibility optimization so the Crimson Desert can also be enjoyed on Intel Arc GPUs. We are... Okay. So, we apologize for any confusion our previous FAQ wording regarding playability on Intel Arc GPUs may have caused. Please regard this as our official news. Okay, whatever. Okay, never mind. It's good. You can play it on Intel GPU now. I have no idea how it runs on those GPUs, but suffice it to say, Intel is more interested in AI and professional, and that's the reason why they're putting all their best GPUs into professional only GPUs. So like the Arc Pro series, like the Pro B50 that I have, or the new Pro B60 that you can get at Micro Center. You can get like an ASRock or a Sparkle, or the newly released, which we're going to talk about, the B70 with 32 gigabytes of memory for over $1,000. Yes, who wants to spend more than $1,000 on an Intel GPU. If you're gaming, you're probably not going to want to do that, because you don't want to run into these sort of situations. It'll be too much of a headache, and dropping that much money on a GPU just to deal with these kind of issues, totally not worth it. Okay, speaking of Intel, let's take a look now at Intel's latest and greatest CPU. The Intel Core Ultra 7 270K Plus. Yeah, the Intel Core Ultra 7 27K Plus, or 270K Plus. Let's take a look at it. So Intel's fastest gaming CPU. Notice they're choosing the words wisely. Intel's fastest gaming CPU. Not the fastest gaming CPU. Intel's fastest gaming CPU. So here we go. This is the two-part refresh of the company's Ultra Series 2 Arrow Lake family. Interestingly enough, they're calling it 200 series, not 300 series, which I find interesting because I think it's the Panther Lake is 300 series on mobile. So that makes me wonder, like, what else is there 300 series? Because if they're not putting out a 300 series on their desktop, that literally means that Z890 will go down in history as a one-generation socket. A one-generation socket. Like, you literally have Arrow Lake, like there's Z890, and there's Arrow Lake, and that's it. There's Arrow Lake Plus, and that's the end. That's literally the end of the motherboard. There's nothing else. That's it. No upgrade path. Because this is not an upgrade to a Core Ultra 9 285K. So let's take a look at what they did. This replaces the current Core Ultra 7 265K. So that means the Core Ultra 7, effective immediately, the 265K is now end of life. It's retired. It launches at an aggressive price. So this new one, the 270K Plus, launches at $300. That is a good price, though. I will say, that is a good price. In a market like this, where everything is stupidly expensive right now in the electronics world, we don't even need to talk about memory. We don't need to talk about SSDs. But just in general, everything is just creeping up in price. Intel launches this new Arrow Lake refresh at $300 for the flagship part. That is $100 cheaper than the MSRP of the 265K's launch price. So that launched at $400. This is launching at $300. So that is nice that they're doing that. While the 265K is carved out of Arrow Lake silicon with a core configuration of 8 performance cores and 12 efficiency cores with 30 megs of L3 cache, the new 270K Plus maxes out the silicon, enabling the entire 8P plus 16E cores present, along with the entire 36 megabyte slab of L3 cache. So, okay, that's very interesting. So that basically means that the Core Ultra 7 270K is identical in core and cache counts to the flagship Core Ultra 9 285K. So that means there's literally no reason to buy the Core Ultra 9 anymore, because the Core Ultra 9 has the exact same core count as this new $300 Core Ultra 7 270K. So very interesting. Intel's trying to shake things up. This is what it means to get people interested in their parts. You have to compete on price. If you cannot win, like Saruman told Gandalf, if the mountain defeats you, what then will you do? So obviously the X3D is the mountain. They cannot climb over the mountain. So what do? You go under it. You go into the mines of Moria. And that's exactly what they've done with the 270K plus. And you know how what he says in the movie, if you've ever watched this movie, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, I would not go into the mines unless I had no other choice. Literally, Intel is having to go into the mines of Moria. It's because by going so low on the price, they're going to go low margin. They're going low on their margins. And remember, they already have to spend the money on TSMC's node that they hate having to do this. This is like a feels bad. Like, you literally, it's like you want to make a car and you're competing with Kia and Hyundai, but you want to use Kia's assembly lines to make your car? Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, that is the most stupidest thing. It looks so retarded. Like, an investor will probably question, like, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. So, okay. So this is why it's like, okay, we got to go low margin and we got to use our competitor to build our stuff. If you can't beat them, join them. And we can't climb the mountain, so we got to go under it. So this is exactly what this is. This is literally a Mines of Moria moment. So we'll see what happens. It's interesting. Very interesting stuff. So let's see what they got here. Because, like, okay, how can anyone justify the Core Ultra 9? Not only has Intel completely, like, retired the 265K by replacing it with 270K plus, they've also kind of invalidated the existence of the Core Ultra 9. So let's see what they say here. All that sets the 270K plus apart from the flagship Core Ultra 9 on paper is a slightly lower maximum peak core boost frequency of 5.5 versus 5.7 gigahertz, resulting from a lack of thermal velocity boost. So this is the thing about Intel, man. Intel loves things like license fees. Oh, you want that? Okay, we gotta charge you extra. You want overclocking? Okay, no, you gotta buy a Z890. You gotta spend more money on the motherboard. Oh, it used to be if you wanted an HEDT, like a Threadripper, like an Intel Threadripper type thing, you had to buy certain tiers of CPUs to literally unlock PCIe lanes on the motherboard. This is what I mean by they love licensing fees and locking things down. It's like, oh, you want to overclock? Well, you can't buy a cheap motherboard. You gotta buy the high-end motherboard. It's like, oh, you want thermal velocity boost? You want the coolest technique of overclocking an Intel CPU? Nope, you can't do that. You can't do that on an Ultra 7. You can't do that on an Ultra 5. No. That is exclusive to the Core Ultra 9. This is like the one thing that will justify the continued existence of the Core Ultra 9. This plus the 200 more out-of-the-box megahertz. And these things are already kind of maxed out on the silicon. So, there's not a lot of headroom in them anyway. So if you care about the clock speed, this is Intel's way of forcing you to spend more money on the higher end part artificially, because it's like, okay, you want the 5.7, you got to buy the Core Ultra 9. You want thermal velocity, oh, you got to buy the Core 9. You can't buy the 7. So that basically makes this thing look kind of like a joke in the face of like, oh, you're not getting any new features. Literally what you're getting is the same core count as the Core Ultra 9 for $300, but you lose the highest boost frequency and you lose the cool overclocking functionality of thermal velocity. Now, if you're not an overclocker, who cares? You don't even care about that stuff. But for enthusiasts, they do care about this stuff. So, I don't know. Still, though, I will give Intel the benefit of the doubt. I do think at $300, the Core Ultra 7, 27K plus, at least on paper, without looking at any of the results, sounds pretty good. So, It sounds pretty good. All right, let's just go ahead and skip over to the results here. Let's take a look. Synthetics. Let's see. Synthetics. We got 79 nanoseconds of latency. Read and write benchmarks. That looks pretty good. This is at DDR5 6000. So that's, yeah, that looks okay for this architecture. Y Cruncher, let's take a look. Okay, let's see. 47.8 seconds on Y Cruncher. That is tying with AMD's previous flagship, the Zen 4 Ryzen 9 7950X. So, oh wait, hold on. That's with DDR5 8800 QDIMM. So the default is about 49 seconds. So the average person buying a PC, they're going to get the bone stock RAM because they can't afford the higher end RAM, especially in this market. You want 8800 megahertz RAM? You know how much you got to pay for that stuff? You want 48 gigs of DDR5 8800? You better have at least like $700, $800. And $700 for 48 gigs of RAM is a really, really dumb thing to spend money on right now. So that's totally not worth it for like 1.5 seconds. You're better off with DDR5 5600. Seriously. At least you can get 64 gigs of it. Okay. Chess simulation. Well, actually, hold on. Let's keep looking at this. So you can see the fastest CPU on this chart is the Ryzen 9 9950X3D. Second place, 9950X. Third place, the Core Ultra 7 270K Plus with QDIMM, like $900 memory. $900 memory, 48 gigs, or 32. I don't know. Maybe it's 32. I didn't look at the test setup. 8800. And then we have Zen 4, and then we have the boost mode, limits remove mode, which doesn't really, I mean, okay, it helps a little bit, like you gain half a second there, or you shave off half a second. Then you have the Core Ultra 9, and then the Ultra 7, then the 14900K, the 9800X3D, blah, 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 all these, like, you know, lower-end CPUs. Okay, chess simulation. What do we got? Chess simulation, Stockfish. In first place, 9950X3D, 21.61 M nodes per second, followed by the 9950X. Then, surprisingly, AMD's 2022 CPU, this CPU launched in 2022, it's middle-aged. The 7950X coming in third, somehow still beating all of Intel's CPUs. I don't even know how this is even possible, but it somehow does. I guess AMD is just really good at Y Cruncher and chess. Like, okay. And then somehow the 14900K, a CPU from 2023, it will be 3 years old later this year. So yeah. The 14900K is going to turn middle-aged later this year. So that is going to become a low-end CPU. And you can see it's falling behind. Like Jay said when he was checking the scouter, you're at 20.06 and getting weaker. On the scouter. Uh-oh. 1400K. Uh-oh. Power level's going down. Uh-oh. Needs to power up. 300 watts. 350 watts. Need more watts. Okay, but see all this other stuff, these low-end things down here? They can't win because they have low core and thread count. All these guys down here. You know what I'm saying? All right, Java web browsing. Or not Java. Jetstream 2. In first place, 9950X3D. First place. Now, here's where it's kind of weird, man. Like, I don't understand this. I feel like this web browsing thing is not fully, like, core count dependent. Because you have the Ryzen 7 9700X just randomly in second place. It barely manages to beat the 950X, but a win is a win. And the Ryzen 5 9600X, like, apparently web browsing is just way more smoother and responsive on Ryzen CPUs for some weird reason. I don't understand why. But yet, then there's some outliers down here, like 7800X 3D. I can understand why 7800X 3D is down here, because 7800X 3D does not have a very high clock speed. It just doesn't have a very high clock speed. It's thermal limited because of the way that the 3D cache makes it hard to cool the CPU. So that's kind of why it's stuck there. But yeah, 14700K, dude. Like, what in the... Intel's old i7, just looks like trash. What is going on? Is this CPU, like, dying to voltage degradation or something? It's just, like, failing the test? I don't understand what's happening to the 14th generation. It's starting to just, like, look bad in these benchmarks. Okay, web browsing. Because 14700K and 14900K have a lot of core and thread count. Like, 14900K... that thing has 32 threads. And it's like down here. Like, what? Oh, man, that 14th gen. Glad I skipped that one. All right, web browsing. Speedometer 2. We've got Ryzen. Okay, it's the same story, guys. Like, it's like, okay, yeah. Let's look at machine learning. Oh, it's doing good. GPT-2 AI. And keep in mind, this is not ChatGPT running in a web browser. This is ChatGPT running locally on the computer, using the cores. So I just want to note something. This is a good result for Intel, but it is a pointless result for Intel, because everyone knows that if you're going to run AI locally on your computer, you are never going to use your CPU cores to do AI workloads. You're always going to use either the GPU, the integrated GPU, like meaning integrated graphics, which is not what this is showing, or you're going to use an NPU, a neural processing unit, which these Intel CPUs do include. But that is not what this test is doing. This test is, I can tell by looking at the results that this is literally a CPU core benchmark. Because imagine typing a prompt to ChatGPT and then having to wait 73 seconds. That's over 1 minute to get the response. No one uses AI like that. That is unacceptable. So it's a cool test. It's interesting because it shows that the code path is well optimized for these Intel Core Ultras. In general, actually, looking at all the results, Intel's Core Ultras, all of them, including the 14th gen, defeat all of the Ryzens by a pretty good margin. But to me, this is not a real world test. It's not a practical test, because anyone who's using AI locally, you're obviously using your GPU to run the workload. So these results are kind of meh. It's like, okay, a win is a win, though. I do credit Intel with victory on this, which is interesting to see this, because it tells me that Intel's architecture is better optimized for generating tokens for AI language models than the AMD Zen 5. So, this is one of those benchmarks that I could see people easily trying to cheat, because if someone were to write this code and use like AVX 512, then all of a sudden the Zen 5 CPUs would obliterate everything else on this chart. Yeah. Stable diffusion. All right, this isn't... Okay, but see, this is what I mean. Like, the AI... So GPT-2 is optimized on these Core Ultras, but then all of a sudden you look at this, like Stable Diffusion. This is actually more of a real-world one, but again, take these results with a grain of salt. They don't really mean much in the real world, because, yeah, okay, in this scenario, the 9950X 3D manages to win, but who cares that it wins? It is a useless result, because you're going to use your GPU if you're doing Stable Diffusion. You're not going to use... Anyone who is familiar with Stable Diffusion knows that you don't use your CPU cores to generate images on Stable Diffusion. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyone who's played around with that, I've done a whole video about this actually. I've done like 2 or 3 videos on Stable Diffusion on this channel. And yeah, I never use the CPU. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to wait like 73 seconds or 65 seconds to generate one image. Like, who does that? That's not how... That's wrong. This is wrong, okay? Upscaling. Image upscaling. Again, okay, here's one where this is... Now the results are completely backwards. With GPT, Core Ultra is winning and Ryzen is losing. But now in image upscaling, so like upscaling an image using an AI model, Ryzen is dominant. It's like you literally turn the entire result upside down. And you have Ryzen all at the top. You have Intel cores all at the bottom. And 7800X3D just likes to hang out with those Intel bros, you know? Like, hey man, I'm 7800X3D. I'm super low power. And I don't run real fast. So I'll just hang out with you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, all those Ryzen bros at the top, they're like too hardcore overachiever type A personalities up there. But nah, I'm 7800X3D. Life is too short. I'm just gonna vibe code it. You know what I'm saying? Like, who cares? He's just gonna hang out with the Core Ultra 7, 270K plus. They're like best bros down here in the middle of the pack. Next, we got machine learning AI. Machine learning AI. Again, it's language processing. This is this is model training. So this is even more unrealistic. This is like the most unrealistic result. But in the results show that high thread count matters the most, because you can see all the high core count CPUs are at the top of the list, except for the 14900K, which is just getting destroyed by like everything else that it used to compete with. And then you've got like all the low core count Ryzen 7s, Ryzen 5s. They're only single CCD. They're obviously going to lose because they don't have the cores. I can't help but wonder, did Intel like kneecap their 14th gen somehow? Like, how 14th gen is looking so bad right now. Like, for real, this is pathetic. Like, 14th gen used to go toe to toe and even beat the 7950X. But now it's like just getting raffle stomped by like all the Intel Core. Somehow it's like all of a sudden the Core Ultras are like better than 14th gen. And 14th gen is just garbage. Like, what happened? Is this thing broken? Do they need to RMA it because of the voltage issue? Like, I don't know what's going on, guys. Like, what is up with 14th gen on these results? All right, classify images. Again, it's another AI thing that you'll never use the CPU for. All right, PlayStation 3 emulation. All right, let's take a look. PS3, RPCS3 Red Dead Redemption. PlayStation 3 emulation. So at the top of the screen, 9950X3D, 56 frames per second, followed by 9800. So basically all the Zen 5s. The Zen 5s are winning because the Zen 5s have full data path AVX 512. And RPCS3 can utilize AVX 512 instructions. And that is the reason why the Ryzen 9s win and everything else loses. But that being said, the Core Ultra 7 270 Plus is doing pretty good. 50 frames per second. So it's doing quite good. We go down here. This is the Switch emulator. So apparently X3D does really good with Switch emulation. And here's something that the 14900K and 14700K are actually pretty good at. They're up there with like 7800X3D, and they're winning against Intel's Core Ultra. So that's interesting. Rendering, Cinebench. So the multi-thread, they're doing pretty good in multi-thread. That's pretty good multi-thread results. You can see all those multi-thread. This is why we care about those multi-threads. And then, so this scales accordingly. Multi-thread performance. I would expect, I thought 1400K was supposed to be pretty good at multi-thread. It has 32 threads. 32 threads. It's equal to the AMD 16 cores in thread count, but yet somehow those guys are like up here and it's down. I don't know what's going on, guys. Rendering single thread. Okay, the best single thread performance is the Core Ultra 9 285K. Somehow now it's magically better than the 14th gen, and the 14th gen is just getting weaker. Like Jay said, check the scouter. You're at 134, getting weaker. So man, I don't know. Intel's owning Intel. I can tell you that. If I was gonna go build an Intel system, I would not build 14th gen. That's for sure. I would definitely be going Intel Core Ultra. That's the way to go. And then AMD, how's AMD doing? AMD's is kind of like right in here in the middle. Like, yeah, we're there, man. Single thread. You got to get that Zen 5 for that single thread performance on AMD Ryzen, because that was one of the biggest improvements going from Zen 4 to Zen 5. The single thread performance on Zen 5 is a lot better than Zen 4. And these Cinebench results really, really show that. Blender. Really good at Blender, man. Check that out. Whoa, it's good. It is good at Blender. It is right up there with 9950X3D and beating 9950X by 4 to 5 seconds. That's pretty good. It even beats the old Intel. This is because Blender is very thread count heavy. So the more threads you have, the better your results. That is the reason why the top performers are all the high core count CPUs. Doesn't matter if they're P-core or E-core. Just throw a bunch of cores at everything and the problem of Blender rendering goes away. And that is why the Core Ultra reigns supreme, followed by the Ryzen 9s. And 14th gen i9 14900K hanging in there, man. 71 seconds. It's hanging in there. It's trying to stay relevant. It's going to become middle-aged, though, later this year. That's the real deal. That's reality. Kicking in. 14700K dropping down, even though it's got more threads. All right, Corona benchmark. Man, it's so competitive. This one is like the most competitive one I've seen. Intel is neck and neck with AMD's Ryzen 9 in this benchmark. Look at those results. 65 seconds versus 64 seconds and 66 seconds. Literally, the Core Ultra 270K is like in between the Ryzen 9 X3D and the Ryzen 9. Like, it's like right between the two of them. Insane. Keyshot. I don't even know what this is. I have no idea what this is. Keyshot. Some kind of render thing. Okay, well, it does pretty good in Keyshot, but again, all the core counts matter. The more cores and threads you have, the better your results. And one thing that I want to point out, we have only been looking at how this compares to AMD's best. Keep in mind that the Core Ultra 7 270K Plus is a $300 CPU. So you would want to compare it more to like a 9700X. And it is destroying the 9700X and the 9800X3D in these productivity benchmarks. So Intel is going through the mines of Moria. They're going for the bridge of Khazad-dûm. And with that, they're going to show the value. They're going to show the value. This is actually really good value, considering it's $300, and it's going neck and neck with AMD's way more expensive, like $600 flagship CPU, $500 no X3D CPU, and it is right up there with them, man. So you gotta give Intel credit where credit's due. At $300 for productivity, these are good results. V-Ray. You cannot touch AMD on the V-Ray. But again, what did I just say? This is a $300 CPU. So these two AMD guys up at the top, this is like a $500 CPU and a $600 CPU. So literally the 9950X3D is double the price of a Core Ultra 7. So Intel is really going in to try to be the value king of the PC desktop space. And these are pretty good results at these price points, because I'm glancing down and I see that 9700X and that 9800X 3D. Those guys are just getting destroyed by these Intel Ultra 7s in these benchmarks. What's sad is that Core Ultra 9 is also losing. That's what feels bad, man, because that's the only one that's got that thermal velocity thing. All right, game development. Unreal Engine 5, everyone's favorite game engine. Really good at UE5. Fast renders. Or not renders, fast compiles. 65 seconds. It's basically a tie with that and a $600 AMD CPU. I mean, look at the value there. And then the Core Ultra 9. The Core Ultra 9 is a $500 CPU. 63 seconds. So for $200 more, you can lose in almost every other benchmark, but you'll win in Unreal Engine 5 by like 2 seconds. Is that worth 200? Is a 2-second benchmark run in Unreal Engine 5 or a 2-second victory worth $200? Software development. This is Git source code management. So this is stuff like VCS type things or version control. You look at this. Zen 5, man. Zen 5. It don't even care about the cores. It don't even care. Ryzen 7 9700X. You want to see a $300 CPU go against $300 CPU? Well, check it out. 210 seconds. I win. I beat you. I win. I quit. Okay. Next we got Microsoft Visual Studio C++. Oh man, look at that Core Ultra 7. Look at that, just sitting up there at the top. Beat every single CPU on the list, even if it managed to beat by 0.5 seconds. A win is a win. A win is a win. Really good stuff. JavaScript. Oh man, look at that. Oh, look at that 14900K out of nowhere. 14900K is like, hold on. I can beat my rival. I can beat my old rival. Because who is 1400K's rival? 7950X. And look at 7950X. Last place, man. Last place on that JavaScript. 7950X and the 1400K / 1300K are the old rivals. Old rivals. One is at 17 seconds, the other is at like 22.8. Interesting. AV1 encoding. AV1 encoding. This is going to be CPU core, not integrated graphics. This is CPU cores. Core Ultra and the Ryzen 9 9950X3D. These two CPUs tie for top place. 32 seconds for both of them. The Core Ultra 7 270K plus. Now remember, I use the green bar as the actual result because these red, gold, and blue are pointless. So we look at the green one. So the green one's the out-of-box experience. So 33.6. So it almost matches the 9950X, which is a more expensive CPU. And it trounces the 14900K. 14900K has the most inconsistent results I've seen on this review. Sometimes it's way at the bottom, and most of the time it's in the middle somewhere. But sometimes it's at the bottom, and then every now and then it's randomly there at the top for some weird reason. All right, so, but you can see like all these guys are in the middle, and you have these low core guys at the bottom here. That's AV1, HEVC, same deal. I feel like it's tracking. It's pretty much the same. And then AVC, it's pretty much the same. They're tracking. AVC is faster than AV1 and HEVC, but it is also much older. Media MP3 encoding. This is looking at the single thread. This is single thread. Ryzen utter domination by Zen 5. They fall straight in line, one after another. Microsoft Word. If you do a lot of Microsoft Word, man, check this out. It's right up there with the Ryzen 9s. Those two Ryzen 9s, man. Those Ryzen 9s are just so consistent with the results. You always see these Ryzen 9s, either if they're not number one and number two, they're like right there at the top of the chart. I've never seen these two guys like way down here at the bottom. So very, very consistent performers. PowerPoint. Dude, if you do a lot of PowerPoint presentations, look at this. Like, I don't know, Zen 5 X, I don't know, does PowerPoint use AVX 512? Like, what is this? Anyway, Core Ultra is kind of hanging in there, but those results are not looking good. They're losing to the previous generation, 14th gen. Excel. Oh man, Excel, of course. Compute, anything that's compute heavy is going to go to Zen 5. It's going to always go to Zen 5. But Core Ultra, though, is still beating Zen 4 and 14th gen. And it's beating the old Core Ultra. So pretty good. I guess, I mean, it shows a marked improvement. It's just not enough of an improvement, but it's an improvement nonetheless. Yeah, the DDR5 is QDIMM. Outlook. Microsoft Outlook, if you send a lot of emails, I mean, no one's going to tell the difference, seriously. With even the lowest, even the 7800X3D, you'll never know the difference. Adobe Photoshop. See what I mean? Those Ryzen 9s, man. Those Ryzen 9s are so hard to beat with productivity. This is the reason why the argument about, like, I remember when the Intel Core Ultra first came out, and people were like, "Oh, I feel like the only reason to get this is if you're doing like a mini HEDT." Well, the thing is, if you're doing a mini HEDT, you would just be better off with the 9950X3D or maybe the 9950X, but dude, 9950X3D. This is why I tell people it's the best of the best. It's the best of the best. It's got the best productivity. It's got the most consistent benchmark results. It's got full fat AVX 512 for emulation. It has the fastest compile times for gaming. And its gaming performance at 4K gaming is basically the same as the 9800X3D. You'll never notice the difference if you're at 4K gaming, because a true enthusiast would be at 4K gaming anyway. So, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm doing mini HDT, I'm going 9950X3D. Like, it has the most consistent results. But if I'm on a budget, like $300, man, $300 for a Core Ultra 7 with results like these are pretty good results at that price point. So yeah, Intel is definitely winning on the value argument. So the very thing that made AMD prevalent in those budget builds years ago, Intel now has to ride that wave to success. So how the tables have turned in the desktop market, just looking at these results and the price points. Video editing, Adobe Premiere. Intel has always been relatively strong in Adobe Premiere, but again, look at the Ryzen 9s. The 1400K and the 9950X3D literally tie. 10.4. The difference is the 9950X3D has put so many more consistent chart-topping results compared to the aging 14900K, which has given us very inconsistent results looking at all these productivity benchmarks. So, dude, seriously, like if I'm going to build a mini HEDT, if I'm on a budget, that Core Ultra 7 is looking pretty good. What's not looking good is 14th gen and all the old Core Ultras and the low count Zen 5s. And then also the Zen 4s are looking kind of old now too, but that's because they are. So these results look like the real deal. Video editing, Adobe After Effects. Man, Core Ultra's pretty good. Those are good results. Like I said, $300. Those are good results. I don't know what this benchmark is. Zephyr, 3DF Zephyr. I'm not familiar with this one. But they're saying that the creating 3D models is a tedious and complex. Oh, okay. So it's for 3D modeling. Okay, that's what this does. Photogrammetry. Photogrammetry. Good results, man. Look at that. At these price points, those are really good results. And Intel's Core Ultra was already strong in this benchmark. So 3DF Zephyr, Core Ultras are good. Even the old Core Ultras are good. But again, then you see AMD Zen 5 right there. It's like, it's slower, but it's there. You know what I'm saying? And then you got 14 Gent and all the old stuff and the low cores. All right, Blackmagic Raw, 6K video decode. Really strong results here. Beating Intel's Core Ultra 9, beating the Ryzen 9 flagship, and the other CPUs. It just goes down from there. Science and research. Physics simulation. Okay, so this is where I feel like the Core Ultra is really shining. It's showing some pretty good results in these areas. So physics simulation, really good results. Chemistry simulation, really good results. Very good results, actually. I mean, look at the difference there. 32 seconds or 34 seconds? That's 11 seconds faster than the 14900K. And this is a much cheaper price point. Genome analysis. Medical science. So it does look like, actually, looking at this, the Core Ultra 7 is quite good for these scientific workloads. Scientific workloads, man. So I think we found a good niche area for the Core Ultra series. Scientific research benchmarks. Okay, antivirus. Antivirus. So these are like antivirus scanning. Okay, they're not doing good. I can tell you that. The older CPUs are doing better. Zen 5 is doing, basically everything's doing better than the Core Ultra. So Core Ultra is having some kind of issue. This looks like a software optimization problem where AVAS, Windows doesn't know how to handle AVAS with the thread director. There's some kind of mismatch here, and it's just failing. PCB designer, okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Put those Ultras on top. Put everything else down there. I don't know. There's a Core Ultra way down here, though. I don't know what that's about. Text recognition. Google Tesseract. OCR. Again, those Ryzen 9s. Let's pretend those Ryzen 9s don't exist. Let's okay. Oh yeah, look at those good results, man. Look at those good results. 44 seconds, $300. Really good results. It beats 14900K. It beats 14900K. Really good results. Virtualization, Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, so here we go. VMs. Really, really good. Oh, okay. There's like a 5-second lead over those AMD with GPUs. That's quite good. Database, MySQL. Really good in SQL. Look at that. Really good, man. Intel Core Ultra has some really interesting niche areas where it's quite good. MongoDB. Really good in MongoDB. I mean, what is that, like 6 to 7 seconds faster than that AMD? That's pretty good. Way faster than the 7800X3D. That's like 100 seconds right there. That's like less than half the amount of time. Java. Okay. Web hosting. Compression. WinRAR. 7-zip. Decompression. Wait, did we get the WinRAR decompression? Why is there no... I guess no one uses WinRAR for decompression. Who uses WinRAR for compression? Most people I know that use WinRAR or still use WinRAR use it for decompressing files, not compressing files. But yeah, compressing, decompressing, it's not that bad. I mean, it's not. Okay, I would be very surprised. I would be very surprised if the Core Ultra won in cryptography. Cryptography is an area where, well, it's actually, compared to the lower core count stuff, it's good. But it loses to all of the high core AMDs. Because AMD is good for cryptography. If you guys remember a number of years ago, do you guys remember when CPU mining for crypto was a thing? And everyone that was doing crypto mining used AMD Ryzen CPUs. In particular, the Ryzen 9 12 cores were the best bang for buck. Like the 3900X, the 5900X, the 7900X. Back when people, well, the DDR5 stuff wasn't really used for CPU mining. I remember, man, 5900X and 3900X were the way to go if you wanted to do CPU mining. And the way you know what CPU is going to be good at CPU mining, you look at the cryptography benchmarks and look who the chart toppers are. Their high core count and their AMD. If it's Intel, it's going to be high core count. But these are good results compared to AMD's lower core counts. I mean, I wouldn't say these are good results. These are okay results because the Core Ultra 7 270K Plus has way more cores than the Ryzen 7 9700X and the 9800X 3D. And it's, what is this, like 10, this is like 15 gigabyte per second faster. Not that impressive. Not that impressive. The 14900K wins over the Core Ultra because of one reason. Who here could tell me what that reason is? Why does the 14900K beat the Core Ultra 7 270K Plus in crypto mining? I wonder, I'm trying to see if Mark got it. Thread count. Thread count. It's all about thread count. 14900K has 32 threads. So currently, the 14900K is still Intel's highest thread count consumer desktop CPU. That is the reason why it wins. Even though it's an older design and it uses more electricity. Well, the electricity doesn't even matter. That's not even measured here. It's because it has those hyper threads. Its P cores have a left hand and a right hand. The Core Ultra P cores only have one hand. They chop the other hand off. Oh, SHA-3, man, it's doing pretty good. It's pretty competitive with AMD. That is rare to see, but that is pretty interesting. So you could legit use a Core Ultra 7 270K Plus for SHA-3 crypto mining. It would give pretty good results based off of this. Look at how that 14900K just falls way back. That's what I mean. Intel's not known for cryptography performance, but these Core Ultra 7s are changing that narrative. Okay, gaming. It's time to look at gaming. We're not going to spend too much time on this because this is not really a good choice for a gaming PC. But take a look at this academic result. Relative performance, 720p. This is why I say academic results. No PC enthusiast is going to build a gaming desktop and game at 1280 by 720p. No one's going to do that. So that's why these are pointless results, but they are still scientific results to look at which CPU is the best at gaming. And here we go. First place, Ryzen 7 9800 X3D. 20% faster. 20% faster than this brand new Intel CPU in gaming. The closest, the proper price competitor is the Ryzen 7 9700X. And that is basically the same as the Core Ultra 7 270K. 100% versus 100.1%. But you will never notice that 0.1%. So they are virtually identical in gaming performance. And then underneath the Core Ultra 7 270K Plus, you have the Core Ultra, no, not the Core Ultra, the Core i9 14900K at 99.5%. So it's about 0.5% slower than this new Core Ultra 7. But the reason why these are not good for gaming, they're okay for gaming, but they're not good for gaming because look at the difference. Look at these X3D parts. Even the lowly Ryzen 7 7800 X3D is still 8% faster than this new Core Ultra 7 270K Plus. But again, this is only if you care about the gaming. When I evaluate a CPU, I personally look at more than just gaming. Now, some people might not care about anything but gaming. So with that, they're going to want to look at this, and they're going to choose whatever's at the top of the chart. And that's going to be what that's their guiding light. That's not what I care about, though. I go for best of best. And best of best, based off of what I've looked at, is definitely the 9950X3D. That's still 13.1% faster than this Intel Core Ultra 270K Plus. Even AMD's non-X3D, even the 9950X with no X3D is still almost 2% faster than this Core Ultra 7. So, and these results track with what I've seen playing a whole bunch of CPU-bound games like Dragon's Dogma and Monster Hunter Wilds. You know, so this to me lines up with what I have seen with my own results. So let's skip now to 4K. This is the one that I'm interested in. Okay, 4K gaming. What happens if you game at 4K? Because I often hear people say, oh, if you game at 4K, the CPU doesn't matter. Just get whatever. No, that's bad advice. That's bad advice. Because looking at the 4K gaming results, here we see that even at 4K, X3D makes a difference. Now, it's not as big of a difference, but you look at this. At 4K gaming, if the Core Ultra 7 is at 100%, the 9800 X3D is still 6.1% faster. It's single-digit percentage, but it's still faster. It still matters at 4K. 9950 X3D, still 3.5% faster at 4K gaming. Ryzen 7 7800 X3D, the lowly 8-core with Zen 4 architecture, clocked all slow to maintain that low blood pressure, healthy weight, whatever you want to call it. 7800 X3D doesn't have to worry about voltage degrading or blah, 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 or health-related issues. No, it's just chilling, 2% faster still, even at 4K, while sipping electricity at 4K gaming. So you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, that thing is ridiculous. It's 7800 X3D gets on my nerves because every time I see it up here, I'm like, man, Can this thing just go and retire, please? Can we just get these Zen 4 CPUs off of the chart? Can you just stop testing them? Stop including them in the results, please? Get them out of here. It's still there, man. It's still good. It's still hanging on. It's like, nah, I'm just gonna hang out, man. I'm good. It's like 7800X3D. Don't you want to retire? Don't you want to retire? And nah, I'm good. I'll just keep going for another 5 more years. You know, whatever. I'm gonna be an ancient CPU. I'm gonna be an ancient CPU. I don't care. I'm just gonna hang out. So 7800X3D, man, this thing's gonna be relevant for a long time because whoever got one of these back in the day, man, my goodness, this thing is still so good, so good. A CPU that is literally going to turn middle-aged next month. Next month, the 7800X3D will be middle-aged. Middle-aged CPU. Just hanging in there, you know, it's healthy, long life, no dementia, no voltage degrading, just sitting there. He still looks, it's like this dude, 7800X3D is like 50 years old, but looks like he's 21 years old. You know what I'm saying? That's that type of CPU. If that CPU was a human, that's that type of human that CPU would be. You know what I'm saying? So that's the 7800X3D. That thing is going to be middle-aged next month. And it's still so good. All right, let's go ahead and get to the conclusion now. Actually, I want to look at a few more things. I feel like we've spent a lot of time on this review. Power consumption. Let's take a look. Single thread power consumption, 32 watts. And this is the area where the Intel Core Ultra is a marked improvement over not just Intel's previous generation, but even AMD. Now, AMD single CCD chips use less power than Intel's Core Ultras. So look at 9800X3D, 25 watts. 7800X3D, that one CPU that never wants to go away, 23 watts. It still wins. The rival, the 9700X, neck and neck, 35 watts versus 32 watts. But it's looking a lot better than AMD's dual CCDs, man. Those dual CCDs are literally like double the power of the single CCD because you literally have an entire second chipset right there drawing power. So, yeah, man, those dual CCDs, this is like enthusiast type stuff right here where it just burns those watts. All right, multi-thread, though. Let's take a look. Multi-thread. Okay, pretty good. It is more efficient than Intel's 14th gen. It's definitely more efficient, but it's still not... It's not as efficient as AMD. Because you can see at full load, 9950X3D, 950X... And then you look at the more proper comparisons, the ones that are at similar price points. 9700X, 79 watts. 9800X3D, 150 watts. This is like 100 watts less than the Core Ultra 7. So it's like, I don't know. The difference is the Core Ultra 7 will dump more waste heat into your room while you're gaming or using the CPU for an extended period of time under heavy load. That's all that means. It just translates into more... These numbers literally are the difference between your room being comfortable to sit in and play games for hours or being uncomfortable, sweaty mess. And don't forget, we haven't even added the GPU into this equation. This is just CPU power. So you throw a big, like, 300 watt GPU on top of this, now you got even more electricity just being dumped into the room as waste heat. So gaming. The gaming results are definitely better than 14th gen by a wide margin. So Intel achieved their objective in terms of energy efficiency. It is definitely more competitive with AMD under gaming workloads. It still loses to AMD though. If you look at the Ryzen 7s, for example, they're still way lower wattage than the Core Ultra 7. The Core Ultra 7 under under gaming workloads is more similar to a Ryzen 9, like a dual CCD Ryzen in terms of the power consumption while gaming. So very, very interesting results. Idle power. Wait, why are there two? Hold on. What is this? Why is there? What was this one? Oh, this is not idle. This is single thread. Okay. This is single thread. These first ones. So what's the idle wattage then? Idle. Why is this way higher than single thread? How can idle CPU wattage be higher than single thread? I don't know what these results indicate. Single thread efficiency. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're similar to their AMD counterparts. Multi-thread, perf per watt, and they kind of lose their advantage here in multi-thread. So again, this is why I find it hard to advocate for the Intel Core Ultra CPUs for productivity and HEDT or mini HEDT use cases, because the Ryzen 9s offer more consistent results, are similar wattage under full load, and less wattage under gaming workloads, while also providing, like better gaming performance in general. So it's really hard to... there's a few reasons why I still can recommend an Intel CPU, but those are very, very small corner cases. What we've learned from this review is science and physics benchmarks. Yeah, Intel Core Ultra is really good. But the other thing that the Intel CPUs have, the Core Ultra specifically, not 14th gen, but Core Ultra specifically, has things like integrated Thunderbolt 4, QDIMM support for DDR5 overclocking, optional Thunderbolt 5 on certain motherboards with add-in cards. So, there is an argument to be made from a platform standpoint for Intel's Core Ultra. But then when you look at the fact that it is a one CPU, one socket generation, it's hard to make that a solid recommendation. So that's kind of where basically what I'm saying is my opinion of these CPUs hasn't really changed much. Let's skip to the Intel APO and binary optimization tool. So they've had to make a special tool to try to help out. So it looks like they have the ability to not only do the APO optimization, but also a binary optimization for certain games. One of those games is Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail. This is a game that historically, for many, many years, basically since 2013, all the way until like 2022 or 3, or basically when Zen 5 came out, the tables turned. Well, no, that's not true. When X3D came out. So yeah, since 2022, from 2013, for basically 8 to 9 years, Intel CPUs were the best CPUs for Final Fantasy XIV and basically any MMO RPG. Like WoW, whatever. Then X3D came out. And then like overnight, now AMD CPUs are the best CPUs for Final Fantasy and all the MMOs. So it's gotten so bad that they had to make this binary optimization tool now. So let's see, what is this? Intel introduces the binary optimization feature as part of its chipset driver. This will require a BIOS update and a management engine update. I might actually do a video about this. if you guys are interested, because I recently updated my Z890 to the latest BIOS, and I also updated the management engine firmware to the latest version. So we'll take a look at this. The software enhancement is available. Oh wait, I can't use it with my older Intel Core Ultra. I have to have one of these. I can't use it with the 285K. Why would they do that? Why would they why would they make this an exclusive thing for a refresh, but yet the refresh doesn't have things like thermal velocity boost? Huh? Anyway. Alright, what do we got? So this is what it turned off. So basically, you turn it on, and you can see they're getting about 8% improvement in gaming. That is cool. That is cool. I'm the sort of person, though, that I don't like having to install extra things like this and toggle on or off. I just want it to work out of the box. You know what I'm saying? I just want to install the default chipset drivers from the Motherboard's website. Like, for example, if I have an Asus motherboard, I want to go to Asus's website, download the chipset drivers for my motherboard, regardless of whether it's AMD or Intel, just install it and be done with it. I don't want to have to install an extra piece of software just to improve the games. Like, no. You know, I hate installing third-party software to do things with the CPU. Like, I'm the type of person, if I'm overclocking a CPU, I'm overclocking it in the BIOS. I'm not overclocking it in some random third-party tool in the operating system. No. We're going into the BIOS. Old school style. The real deal. Way to overclock. Not this random software nonsense stuff that might have a bug that overvolts the CPU and blows it up. You know what I'm saying? Alright, so let's look at temperatures. Under load, 77 degrees. That's not bad. Definitely better than what we've become accustomed to on 14th gen and the old Zen 4 CPUs. Gaming. Doesn't run that hot while gaming. But all of these run at acceptable numbers, though. And I'm pretty sure they're using a 360 AIO. Overclocking. Overclocking. The E-cores. Okay. They got 5.6 gigahertz, which is still not as fast as the Core Ultra 9, but still, okay. It would have been nice if this thing had thermal velocity boost, because then if you had like a custom loop or something, it could boost the top two cores beyond this 5.6, potentially getting 5.7 or 5.8 or 5.75 or whatever. So, I don't know. Intel does Intel things sometimes. Application performance with overclocking. Gaming performance with overclocking. Alright, so let's go to the conclusion. Or performance per dollar. Yeah, this is... Okay. So... really good value. Performance per dollar. You can see it's better than pretty much everything except lower end CPUs from AMD and Intel. Cost per frame. This is good. See, this is exactly what Intel needed to achieve. Intel needed to achieve, like, they needed to win on performance per dollar and cost per frame, and they have done that. They have done that. I mean, okay, yeah, there's this random Ryzen 5 over here, but this guy's got low core, low thread. So in all the multi-thread, this thing is like not performing well, unless the application doesn't care about cores and it's super good with AVX 512 or whatever. Yeah, so it's an inconsistent performer is what I'll say about the Ryzen 5 9600X. But in terms of cost per frame, it still wins just because it's so much cheaper. Okay. So and then we go, yeah, saying it doesn't change regardless of resolution. All right. Value and conclusion: the Core Ultra 7 270K Plus will sell for $300, faster than the Core Ultra 9 at lower pricing. That basically makes that CPU irrelevant. Gaming performance significantly improved, faster than any non X3D. That's not what I saw. Affordable. I guess he's talking about the ones that are like price similar. So yeah, okay, that's believable. Affordable, overclocking unlocked, integrated GPU, good memory support, well over DDR5 8000. You better have active cooling though if you're gonna do that. LGA 1851 is compatible with existing LGA 1700 coolers. Yeah, that's good. That means that if you have any cooler that's compatible with an Intel CPU from like the last 5 years, you don't have to buy a new cooler or a bracket. If your cooler says LGA 1700, it will work on this, even though this is not an LGA 1700 socket. And then, like I said earlier, it supports Thunderbolt 4 and 5, although 5 is optional and it's very expensive to get. Wi-Fi 6E and Wi-Fi 7. This ships with Intel's package deal for the OEMs and the ODMs. Like for example, if you're Asus and you want to build a motherboard, Intel will sell a package deal, like a bundled deal, where they'll give you an Intel Wi-Fi. You can choose between a Wi-Fi 6E or you can optionally step up to a Wi-Fi 7 Intel NIC for the Wi-Fi shipped with the CPU. So it's like if you want to build motherboards, you talk to me, I'm Intel, I'm going to sell you the Core Ultra 7 in bulk, but the more you buy, the more you save. I'm going to quote you Wi-Fi 6. If you want Wi-Fi 6E on your motherboard, we'll quote those. If you want Wi-Fi 7, we can quote those. So that's what I mean by they can do a bundled deal. This is because Intel has a networking division. They make their own networking products, in particular Ethernet, wired network interface cards, and wireless network interface cards. So they can sell them a package deal. They used to also sell the Thunderbolt 4 controllers. They would bundle those in as well. So if you wanted to offer Thunderbolt 4 on your motherboard, Intel could sell you a JHL 8540, for example. Now they could do that for Thunderbolt 5. They don't have to do that for Thunderbolt 4 anymore, because the nice thing about Arrow Lake is Thunderbolt 4 on an Arrow Lake desktop CPU is fully integrated into the CPU, just like on a laptop Intel CPU. So that is actually quite nice that they have this. A lot of people don't know that. But see, these are the sort of secret knowledge things that I talk about on this channel, that if you don't watch the channel, it's like, good luck trying to figure out this information, unless you want to sift through hundreds of hours worth of engineering documents or Reddit threads that go super, super deep on the technicalities of these things. So, yeah, the NPU is included. Although nothing that I know of actually uses it, unless you use Copilot Plus. And guess what? Copilot Plus doesn't work with this NPU, because this NPU is only like, I think it's like 12 tops at most or something, which is not enough for Copilot Plus. Microsoft requires, I think, 40 tops minimum spec to be able to run Copilot Plus. So even though it has an NPU, it is kind of pointless, and it is a waste of silicon, because there's nothing that I know of. Even Stable Diffusion and all these AI apps, they don't actually use this NPU. So they will use the integrated graphics, the integrated GPU, which is different from the NPU. So I don't really know why. I mean, I don't want Intel to remove the NPU. I like that it's there. It's just in the real world, it's never used because AI workloads use other things in the CPU, like integrated graphics, or they'll just use the dedicated GPU. All right, the negatives. Overclocking requires Z890 motherboard, so you can't buy a B series motherboard and do any overclocking with this Intel CPU, but Intel always does this. This is not new. And then, but it is a con, definitely is a con. And then no support for AVX 512. That's another one, which is also a con, but this is more of like a nerd knob that most people don't really know or care about. But if your workload uses this, that could be a deal breaker, and that kind of forces you to go Zen 5 or Zen 4 because AMD has AVX 512, and the only way you can get it on an Intel is to step up to a Xeon, like Sapphire Rapids or something. But it's like, who wants to do that? You know, that now you're basically having to build a Intel equivalent to Threadripper. You're gonna spend way more money just to get AVX 512. But that's a completely different world. All right, so I'm not gonna read through the conclusion. I think it's pretty clear. It's a pretty good value. It's a good value. If I was gonna build a new PC, especially in the market that we're in right now, where DDR5 is so poorly priced, and flash memory like SSDs, for example, are also very expensive right now. But if I was forced to build a PC in this market with a fixed price, like $1,500 PC or whatever, this would be a good choice. It would be a choice worth considering because $300 leaves a lot more room to spend on things like memory, NVMe storage, etc. A nicer motherboard if you want to do overclocking, for example, things like that. So it is what it is. I think it's an okay refresh from Intel. It's basically a 285K with lower maximum boost clock and no thermal velocity boost, but you also get access with the addition of this new access of this one software tool that they built to improve gaming performance for games that actually have these optimization code paths. So kind of an interesting product, but again, it feels a lot like the 11th gen. It feels like Rocket Lake. It's got a very Rocket Lake vibe. They introduce a new thing. With Rocket Lake, they introduced thermal velocity boost. With this, they also introduced Gear 1 and Gear 2 for memory overclocking. So they introduced some new tricks for overclocking on 11th gen Intel. In this launch, they introduce a new software thing to optimize application performance or gaming performance. So it's got that Rocket Lake vibe. You know what I'm saying? Where it's not always better than the previous Intel, but it is mostly better or equal. So it's okay. It's okay. If I was someone who already had Intel Core Ultra, the question is, would I upgrade to this? The answer is no. Maybe if I had a Core Ultra 5, 245K. Maybe if I really wanted extra threads, like more E-cores, maybe I would get this. I don't know. $300 is not an insane amount of money to do a side grade if you're already on Z890. And I feel like Intel knows this. So they've priced this competitively. They've priced it appropriately, is what I'll say. So, yeah, it's not terrible. If this thing was like $500, it would have been a complete flop. It had to be priced with low margin just because this way it justifies its existence. All right, guys. So that is my take on the Core Ultra 7 275K. If you're on a strict budget, it might be worth considering this, but knowing what I know about the next generation of CPUs from both AMD and Intel, personally, I would probably skip this entirely, especially if you're on an older platform. If you're already on this platform and you have a Core Ultra 5, this might be a decent side grade for the core and thread count boost and the new software features. Otherwise, if you're anyone else, this is probably a hard pass. Will $299 is $190 more than volume sellers pay for it? Yeah, this will end up in a lot of pre-builds. All those gamers that don't know how to build computers, you know what I'm saying? Like the typical gamer. You know what I mean? Like the average gamer. This is going to go to the gamers. You know what I'm saying? Like the gamers who buy pre-builds in Best Buy or order them off of like Alienware's website or whatever. They're going to end up with these because they don't know any better. They're going to think, oh, it's an Intel i7. They're not even going to say the right name. They're going to say i7. You know, even though it's not even i7, it's Ultra 7. They're like, I just got a brand new computer. It's so good. I can play Battlefield 6. I can play Overwatch 2, everything, League of Legends. And my new... And they're like, oh, what is it? What's the specs? Yeah, it's i7... 27,000K plus, you know, so good, man. It's really good. It's the best gaming CPU on the planet, the newest thing, the latest and greatest Intel inside. It's so good. You know, that's the type of gamer I'm talking about. You know, like those type of gamers. Best Buy / Alienware gamers. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. For real. But the enthusiasts, they're going to look at this thing and they're like, they're going to give it a pass because it's $300. But are they going to actually buy it? No. No. See, this is the sort of thing where it's like the average gamers are going to buy this thing in a pre-build. And they're going to be trying to like brag about how they got a brand new gaming PC, RGB everywhere, all this stuff. 1-year warranty from Alienware. If anything breaks down, they have to ship it to them. It's so good, yeah. They're on cloud 9, and it's like they're gonna look at that, and then it's like that's gonna be like an enthusiast that can also play games, but they actually know how to do stuff. They're gonna look at them, and in their mind, it's just gonna be like, you know what I'm saying? This is for budget gamers, not for people on the fastest systems already. Well, no, I mean, not even, okay, I guess budget, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is, it's like these are going to go in pre-builds. Like what Mike is saying, right? Like the volume, the bulk sellers, the what do you call, what did you say? He said it earlier. Uh, where did he say it? Volume, that's the word. Volume sellers. The volumes, the VARs, the volume sales, they're gonna end up like selling a bunch of these to like Alienware. Like Dell's gonna buy a bunch of these. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna throw these in a bunch of Alienwares. They're gonna market it through the wazoo to the gamers who play League of Legends and think they need a 4K 120 hertz monitor to play League of Legends. And they're gonna be like, I need a new CPU, man. My i7 8700K isn't cutting it anymore. I need a new i7 270,000K plus. Intel designed them for enterprise low power. Yeah, well, see, not this though, man. Like, you really think an Intel, an Ultra 7 270K plus is gonna go in an Office PC? Like, Office enterprise aren't gonna put K series CPUs in like small form factor desktop, like, you know, it's like a Strix Halo mini PC type form factor. They aren't gonna put this in there. Like, no, they're gonna be using the Core Ultra 5s that don't even have the refresh. They're just gonna use all the ones that aren't selling in the DIY market. Yeah, that people don't. You think people actually know? You think gamers actually know what Intel Core Ultra? No, they're gonna think i7. They're just gonna assume it's like an i7. That's why I don't understand why Intel rebranded these. Like, why did they change the branding? Everybody knew the name i7. I guess it had something to do with Apple, if I had to guess. Anyway, let's discuss that GPU. Let's talk about that. Let's change to GPUs. Where's Intel's GPU stuff? I thought I saw the announcement the other day. Oh wait, hold on. It was right there, wasn't it? Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Okay, this is way more interesting than that CPU. Intel announces Arc Pro B70 and Arc Pro B65. This is the maxed out. This is it. This is the long rumored Intel flagship GPU. This is it. The ultimate Intel GPU. The Intel Arc B70 and B65. High performance workstation class. I like that they use a blower style cooler. I don't want anything from Intel except the blower style cooler. This is the good stuff. High-end graphics performance. Large scene ready, robust pro software. Up to 367 tops. So they're touting, they're automatically showing you AI performance. You know what I'm saying? They're already targeting a certain demographic. You don't see gaming numbers, you see tops. No one cares about gaming FPS numbers when it comes to Intel GPUs. They only care about tops. They only care about how many DisplayPort 2.1 ports does it have. Does it have ECC memory? Is it PCIe Gen 5? Does it support SRIOV? Gamers don't know what I'm talking about. It's like I'm basically speaking a foreign language. They have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm saying ECC, SRIOV. Does it have SRIOV support? Can we run a full virtualization stack? Can we put a VMware on this? Can we run this when we do a GPU pass-through? Can I turn this into some kind of rendering farm? VDI? You know, what are the use cases? Like, gamers have no idea what's going on right now. Like, I literally just flipped the script and started speaking a completely foreign language. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the Intel Arc. This is the Intel Arc. If you don't understand what I'm saying, you should not consider an Intel Arc GPU. Seriously. Built to scale, engineered for AI. Keyword, AI. Not gaming, AI. No gaming, gaming bad, not for you. No gamer, go away. Yes, AI bros, come here. Yes, AI, come here. All those AIs, get over here. Intel Arc B70 GPU Pro for advanced AI and high-end workstations, Threadripper included, but Xeon preferred. Intel Arc Pro B70 enables faster execution of advanced AI models. Supports scalable multi-GPU, yes, multi-GPU deployments and delivers the... Oh man, I need to get 2 of these now. I need to get 2 of these because I got 2 of those AMD Radeon Pros. I need 2 of these things now. Actually, hold on. I have 2 Radeon AI Pro. Not Radeon Pro. I got Radeon AI Pro. Keyword AI. All right, now I got to get 2 of these. These B70s. Multi-GPU. Multi-GPU means you need at least 2 or more. Delivers reliable workstation graphics software, certification, ideal, 32 gigs of memory. Okay, so it's the same amount of memory as a Radeon AI Pro 9700, because that has 32 gigs of memory for large AI models with higher precision and accuracy. 256 XMX AI engines with XE matrix extensions. Scalable multi-GPU LLM Linux support. So if you're on Linux, they're catering to the Linux crowd. They want Linux people, but you gotta be on AI. They don't care. If you're using Linux for gaming, no, go away. They don't want to talk to you. You gotta be using Linux for AI. XMX AI engines for AI enhanced. Oh, hold on. Oh, no. AI enhanced gaming, keyword AI enhanced gaming. Not just gaming, no. Forget about normal gaming. Let's talk about AI enhanced gaming. That's another subject that I wanted to talk about, which were, if you guys saw some of the news about the things about AI enhanced gaming from another company recently, we're going to talk about that next. Content creation and media, ray tracing, hardware, Linux, okay, all that stuff. What do we got here? More? Is this the same slide except they changed some sentences? Okay, B65. Okay, lower end. What changes? Okay, the B65 has less XE cores, but it still has the same amount of memory, and it uses less wattage. So right now, I'm using the one on the far left here, the B50. We literally have a B50 in this computer right now. And it is this exact reference blower style card. B60, B65, B70. I'm interested in the B70 because I'm all about that VRAM. But the problem is, if I don't feel like paying $1,000+ for this. Powerful local inferencing. Large model ready. Okay. I like this all display port. Here's the spec sheet. All I know is that when it comes to Intel running AI workloads, they want you to use OpenVINO. But Vulkan is also pretty good. Vulkan is surprisingly good, actually. To the point where it's like, if you don't care, you just want to be able to run the workloads, just use Vulkan, man. It's good. It's really good. Intel Arc B65 GPU. This is a 192-bit bus, so what's this? This is a 256. Okay, yeah, this is the good one, man. The B70 is probably the super high-end one, but the specs of this looks really good. 32 gigs of VRAM, 16 lanes of Gen 5 bandwidth. It has 32 ray tracing units. Now, I don't know what that means. If it says 32 RT units, does that mean it can run Cyberpunk at full path tracing? Like, I don't know what this means. I have no idea. I don't know in what context does this ray tracing unit number actually indicate anything. It's like 32 ray tracing units. Like, I guess the question is, how many ray tracing units does a GPU need to have to run Cyberpunk full path tracing at like 60 FPS at 4K resolution, native 4K resolution? Those are the sort of things that I'm looking for. Because if it's not doing Cyberpunk path tracing at 4K native at 60 FPS average, it fails. Like, that's the benchmark, man. Like, if you can't do that, then it's over. Like, that's it. We need more power. We need more powerful chips. The chips are not good enough. It's that simple. 32 XE cores means 4,096 shading units. And 32 RT cores means its RT performance will be at best around RTX 4070. You remember what I told you guys remember what I said a few years back when I predicted where Intel's performance would land? I said RTX 4070, remember? So if your math is correct, that means I'm also correct from what I said like 2 years ago regarding Intel's Battle Mage and the expected performance. Because I predicted right around RTX 4070. That's what I said. There's literally multiple episodes of Tech Thursdays of me saying this. So if that's what it is, that's what it is. Yeah. It was a year, it was more than a year ago. Well, it was about a year ago. Yeah, a year ago we were saying that, but I know I was saying it more than a year ago because a year ago was when RTX 5090, 5080, 5070 Ti were in the, like, they were going into the market around this time last year. So that's the reason why. And so before that, I was using 40 series to predict the performance numbers for the upcoming GPUs. That's why I said 4070 back then. So what do you guys think? Is this something you're interested in? I'm interested in it. It's just I don't. I know that it's over $1,000, and that's the thing. That's what keeps me away from it. Because I would buy this if it was like $700, maybe even $800. I'd buy one of these. But at like $1,100, I don't feel like I want to buy it. I just don't want to spend that much money. I just don't want to spend that much money on a GPU that can barely play games. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a good GPU, but it's too expensive and it's too niche. Expected to be around a 3080 or 4070 with just 32 gigs of VRAM, which is not interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And there's too many problems with Intel's architecture when it comes to live streaming, as you guys have seen me demonstrate time and time again. And I don't know if their professional GPU has addressed this problem. Because you guys remember when I tried to live stream Assassin's Creed Shadows last year with the B580? Because the B580, so basically Assassin's Creed Shadows was provided to me for free via Intel to showcase on the B580. The problem was the B580, it can run the game okay at like 1080p resolution. But as soon as you try to live stream and use the GPU's media engine to do the encode while also playing the game, it just destroys the frame rate. And that's why it turned into a PowerPoint slide presentation while live streaming. And when I realized like it's unusable in this scenario, like for what I do, like the use case I'm doing. So it's completely a deal breaker for a lot of people. No one's gonna live stream gaming while using an Intel Arc GPU because it just doesn't work. I mean, it was like I tested it like 6 months after that. I remember testing with Dragon's Dogma 2, and it's same problem. Monster Hunter Wilds, same problem. Night Rain worked. Night Rain was the only game that I could get it to run close to, it was like 50 to 60 frames per second with the stream not being terrible. But keep in mind, I had to drop Night Rain's resolution down to 1080p, and I had to output the stream resolution at 1080p. I couldn't stream at 1440p. So there's too many weird like problems, like real world problems with the Intel GPU when it comes to the certain use cases that I do, that just make it a no-go. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just no. So I don't know. I remember reading some Reddit threads where people running into the same problem, and they're like, it's an architectural limitation, and so they're like, I'll wait for Celestial because Battlemage didn't fix the problem because Alchemist still had the problem. So I don't know, man. Intel GPUs are still kind of like largely ignored by most people, most businesses. I don't know who's using these. Like, I guess if you're a developer that hates NVIDIA, or if you're a company that hates NVIDIA and you don't trust AMD's, even though AMD has a much, much better track record with their GPUs than they had like a decade ago, then I guess you can consider Intel, but you better not be planning to use it for gaming because that'll be a mistake. OpenVINO, I guess, like if you're gonna use OpenVINO, OpenGL 4.6, I feel like yeah, with these APIs it's pretty good. Vulkan, it's pretty good from what I've tested. It's just the gaming is just so bad. Gaming plus anything else simultaneously, it's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So I don't know. I mean that's my actual experience, and keep in mind, guys, I currently own almost every single Intel GPU ever released. So this will be a good segue to paint for the live stream. So my Intel Arc GPU collection. So I'm going to list all of my Intel GPUs. Arc A770 limited edition. So the special Intel one. Arc A750 limited edition. These are both from Micro Center. Arc A380 ASRock Challenger. This is the one that's got those nice scratches on the slot thanks to the Asus motherboard, man. Because this thing was in the bottom slot as my second GPU. And Asus with the X870E and the Z890, the Maximus and the Crosshair Heroes, they scrape those GPU slots really good on the bottom slot and the main slot. So that one's got all those nice scratches on the slot. Okay, but it still works. All right, then I've got Arc B580 limited edition. That's the Intel one. I have an Arc A310. This one is a Sparkle whatever. Like, I don't know. It's like a Sparkle whatever. It was like $100 at Micro Center, like $90 or something. I don't know. It's a single slot. What else do I have? Oh yeah, and then I have Arc Pro B50. Like the blower style Intel reference card. I mean, there's videos on the channel about it. So I've got basically all of these in my collection right now. So I'm talking as someone who has used a lot of Intel GPUs. So I have a pretty authoritative opinion on Intel GPUs because I've used a lot of them. I've used them in multi-GPU configurations. I've used them in single GPU configurations. I've used them in mixed vendor configurations. Currently, I am using the Intel Pro B50 to render, or am I local recording? I think I'm local recording. I'm local recording a 4K copy of this episode of Tech Thursdays right now using the Arc Pro B50. So the encode to the internet is being done using something else, but the local copy is being encoded using the Intel Arc Pro B50 using, I think, AV1 encoding, so to save on file size. So I have a pretty good opinion of these GPUs, and for gaming, they are terrible. They are absolutely terrible for gaming. They're okay if you game at like 720p resolution, or if you want to game at 1080p and use upscaling, FSR or XESS upscaling to get to 1080p. Then they're okay, but they are absolutely garbage for gaming, but they are pretty good at rendering. They're quite good at rendering, and that's what I use them for. So, yeah, Intel's pretty much, from my point of view, not for gaming, but for productivity stuff, I can see them being usable. Definitely being usable for productivity. But yeah, so I've got Alchemist. So you can see here, I've got literally like all the Alchemist GPUs, including the lowly A380. So let's put this guy down here. B580 and B50 for Pro B50. So these are the battle mages that I've got. These are the alchemists. I've got the lowest end alchemist, and I've got the highest end alchemist. I literally have all the alchemists. The only one I'm missing is like the 500 series one, which is strange because I've got these, the battle mage ones. But yeah, they're okay if you don't do any gaming. Now I've tested them a little bit. So and when it comes to AI, I have tested Arc for large language models using Vulkan, and they're okay. They're not bad. They're not great. They're not outstanding. They're just kind of like average. You know, they're just kind of meh when it comes to using them for large language. I've not tested them with anything like Stable Diffusion. For Stable Diffusion, I've only used AMD and NVIDIA. I've never bothered to learn how to use, like, how to set up the pipeline for Intel for image generation. That might be an interesting one for, like, a video. But, I don't know. People that watch my channel don't seem to be that interested in AI. So, it's like, I could make a lot more AI-related videos and how-tos, but if there's no one interested, then I don't know if there's really a point. So anyway, I've done a little bit of testing with AI workloads, and they seem okay. They scale accordingly, and Battle Mage does seem to be architecturally a lot better than Alchemist in a lot of ways, just practical reasons. So, now I gotta think, where is this? This is storage. This is storage. This is... Where is this? Where is this? Storage, I think. I hope. Storage? Maybe? This one. Threadripper has this one. This is storage. This is in the Godlike, the computer that we're using right now. So I've got this guy in the Threadripper computer. This guy is in the Godlike. This is somewhere. I thought I put this in a computer somewhere. I'm trying to remember where it is because I haven't seen it in a while. I know that all my limited stuff, my 3 like special limited edition, these are just gonna sit in their original packaging and just gain appreciate in value as collector's items. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna keep these until I feel like it's time to sell them. If I start seeing them go for a lot of money on eBay, I might sell them. But yeah, I'm not actually using my limited editions. They just sit in the original Intel packaging. You know what I'm saying? They just sit in the box in a bookcase somewhere. But yeah, the Sparkle is in Threadripper, and the Pro card I do actually use. The reason why the Sparkle's in Threadripper is because this is a single slot it's like a small GPU with a wide fan. So it's wedged in between. Basically, on my Threadripper motherboard, I got a big old EATX. It's not even EATX, it's CEB. So, you know, I've got Radeon. I've got Radeon number 2. So those Radeon AI Pro cards. Then I've got that Intel Sparkle. The Intel Sparkle's here. And then I've got, immediately underneath it, I have my USB 4/Thunderbolt 4 add-in card. And then I've got, underneath that, I've got the RAID card. Yeah, this stuff should be like lower. But you guys get what I'm saying. So I've got, this is Hyper M.2. Hyper M.2. This is the USB. This is the Asus, what do they call this thing? Asus USB 4 PCIe X4 card or whatever. Then I've got the Sparkle. So this guy is right there. And then we have Radeon AI Pro. We have ASRock Radeon or AI Pro. And then we have XFX AI Pro. So this is all in Threadripper. And Threadripper is like here with like a big fat Silverstone AIO on it. And then you got like RDIMM 1, A channel, B channel, C channel, D, something like that. You know, this is my Threadripper. And for the longest time, recently, I've been using this computer like all the time. It's fully loaded, man. It's like, it's hard to go to the other computers when like this computer can do everything. And it has all the virtualization capabilities as well. It's just insane. So but yeah, Threadripper's stacked. Like there's no available open PCIe slots. My motherboard is maxed out. Like it's fully utilized. Oh, you know, I had to use BIOS flashback the other day to update the BIOS on my Asus Threadripper board because the normal BIOS update, the Asus Easy Flash inside the UEFI, it just didn't want to do the BIOS update for some reason. So I just kind of like gave up and just turned the computer off and then just used USB flashback to update it. And I mean, it worked fine with USB flashback, but it turned what should have been like a 10-minute process into like a 40-minute process because of troubleshooting, like why is the BIOS not updating? And then having to sit there and wait with postcode 10 because I was getting postcode 10 on the debug light. Postcode 10. This is the reason why you gotta have a motherboard that has a postcode debug. Because if you're sitting there in the dark, you might do something like turn off the computer and it's actually trying to update the BIOS and then you literally bricked your BIOS. Now, obviously with BIOS flashback, it's no big deal. But if you're less technically inclined when it comes to these things and you don't have a postcode debug, so you have no way of Googling what's wrong, yeah. So that postcode debug came in clutch for me. Yeah, I typically use, I bookmark a web page from Level 1 Tech's forums. If you go into Google and you search Level 1 Tech's Dr. Debug, let me bring that website up. That's good right now. Level 1 Dr. Debug. I literally bookmarked this page from Level 1 Tech's. Like, this is the page I use for the BIOS codes. I was getting 10. This is the, I googled PEI. It was something like the EFI initialization something. So basically, this told me that it's related to memory. So it was something with the memory training or something, but it wasn't really memory training. It was just kind of like memory was initialized, but it wasn't progressing to run the script to do the BIOS update. Because basically what I was doing was I go to the BIOS on the Threadripper motherboard, the Asus Sage. I go to Asus Easy Flash. I choose the BIOS file from my USB thumb drive, and it's like, are you sure you want to do this? Make sure BitLocker encryption is disabled, blah, 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 or have your key ready. You know, all the typical warnings you get when you're doing a BIOS update. So I say yes, and then it's like, firmware flash will begin soon, and then it's like, then you know what it does? It shows the loading bar, and then the computer shuts off, which is normal, because then the computer turns on its own to then execute the script that it queued up from the EFI to do the flash. But what was happening was it was turning on, and then it would flash some of the postcodes that would scroll by. Then it would get to postcode 10, and it would just sit there at postcode 10. So I was thinking, okay, maybe it's going to have to retrain memory or something. But the problem was it would sit at postcode 10, and I literally waited 20 minutes. I gave it 20 minutes, and it was not progressing past postcode 10. So then I started Googling, okay, postcode 10D, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of people are saying it's related to memory. So I'm thinking, I know I don't have any memory problems. I have ECC memory. The memory is just running this typical Expo profile. So I figured, okay, I'll just turn off the computer, and it probably never ran the script, so I'm probably okay. I turn it back on. Sure enough, it comes back up. I go into the BIOS again, attempt it again. Same thing. It turns off, turns back on, postcode 10. So then I'm like, okay, something is weird here. It's like there's a bug with the BIOS that Asus has or something. So then I was like, okay, what if I just use flashback to skip this entire thing? But then I started thinking maybe the BIOS file is corrupted and it can't read it or something. But that doesn't make sense because if that was the case, it would have never allowed me to load it. It would have failed the checksum. So that I proceeded to do flashback. Like Fake Frames always says, just use flashback. I was like, okay, I typically only use flashback as a last resort because the nice thing about using Easy Flash is you get to watch the progress of the update. With flashback, all you have is a little blinking light on the back of the motherboard. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's all you get. So, but I did it and it worked. Everything came up. It was on the latest version. Load back in my Expo profile, all those things. It works fine. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, it was just kind of weird. It was one of those weird Asus UEFI bugs or something. I don't know. But that's one of those things where at least I had this, so I kind of had something to Google and understand what could possibly be wrong related to memory or something. It was something about memory, I know that. And you guys know how I never like shut down my computer. I always put it to sleep. It's like S3 standby, suspend to RAM. I heavily use standby mode on desktop PCs. So I was thinking maybe I should have shut the computer down instead of issued a restart to do the BIOS update, because maybe there's something where the memory has been cycled so many times through the sleep cycles. Maybe it literally needed a full clear, or like a retrain, or because you know me, I use memory context restore, so I skip memory training when possible, and I always put the computer to sleep. I never shut it down. So when I come up to the computer the next day, I literally press the space bar and the computer instantly wakes up and I pick up right where I left off. It's just way more convenient that way. So, yeah, what I'm guessing I should have done is I should have let it do another memory train. Once it would do a new memory training, and then it probably would have worked. But whatever. It's like, flashback, BIOS flashback, fix the problem, let's move on. How many good motherboards have been returned because people didn't wait long? Oh, dude, 100%. 100%. There are a ton of motherboards that were returned, and they were totally fine. I helped like 5 people. I helped 5 people save so much money because I would have them go to Micro Center, and I'd have them buy an open box gigabyte or whatever motherboard that I knew was totally fine because it was part of the Micro Center bundle. And I saw it's like Micro Center was saying we have 65 open boxes. 65 open box gigabyte motherboards. And I look on their website and I'm like, oh, that's the exact motherboard that they use for the bundle. And people are returning it because they're not waiting for the memory to train. So sure enough, I went and I had one friend. I told him, okay, go get this open box. It's like $65. $65 for a motherboard with DDR5 support. Just go buy that $65 motherboard. It's going to work. And he goes and listens to me. He goes and buys it. And guess what? We put the computer together, plug in the RAM, turn it on. Works perfectly fine. You wait for the memory, works totally fine. A month or two later, another friend, same thing. I told him, go to Micro Center, $65 open box motherboard. It's guaranteed to work because some idiot doesn't know how to wait for memory training or some noob has no idea what they're doing. So go buy that motherboard, save a ton of money, good to go. Save a ton of money, man. Like, and then I just repeat the process over and over again. It's like, okay, go buy that motherboard. It's open box, $60. Save a ton of money. Because the motherboard normally is like $120, $130, $150, somewhere in that range. Like a $100 something gigabyte motherboard. It's like a B650 motherboard. B650 Gaming X. Where is it? Gigabyte B650 Gaming X. This motherboard, this is the motherboard that Micro Center has so many open box. At one point, I think they had like 113 open boxes of this at like my local Micro Center. And I always tell people, they're like, okay, I don't care about the postcode debug. I know you say postcode debug, but I don't want to spend money. I just want to set it and forget it. I'm like, okay. If you just want to get the cheapest of the cheap, go to Micro Center and buy an open box B650 Gaming X. I haven't had a single one fail. And I've had at least like 5 or 6 people get this exact motherboard and they're all totally happy with it. They've never had any problems with it. And it's always been an open box. It's always been an open box because, and here's the other crazy thing. When Micro Center, and this is kind of AMD's fault, actually. Now, I won't blame Micro Center for this. This is definitely not Micro Center's fault. This is Gigabyte and AMD, and probably more AMD's fault than anyone else's. Back when Zen 5 launched in the summer of 2024, so we're talking Ryzen 9000, the Ryzen 7 9700X, the 9900X, the 9950X, Micro Center started bundling these 2022 motherboards with 2024 CPUs. And when I saw that, I'm like, I can guarantee people are going to buy this bundle and they're going to return it because they don't know that they have to update the BIOS using BIOS flashback, because I can guarantee this motherboard is not going to support that CPU. And Micro Center has no idea. They haven't tested it. And sure enough, one of my cousins went and bought this bundle, and he ran into the exact problem that I said. He bought a 9700X with this it was a Micro Center bundle. It came with this, 32 gigs of RAM, of the G-Skill Flare X5, DDR5 6000, this motherboard, and a 9700X. He put it all together. Guess what? Black screen. Nothing is not working. And he has no postcode debug because his motherboard is cheap. It doesn't have a postcode debug, so he doesn't know what to do. So he starts messaging me, "Hey, can you help me?" You know how people know, like when family members know, like when you know technology, they're just gonna come to you for like free tech support. You know what I'm saying? It's like that kind of thing. So he starts like messaging me, "Hey, I got this computer bundle from Micro Center, and I put it all together. I'm pretty sure I did everything correctly, and it's not coming up. I need help." So I'm like, "Is it the bundle with the Gaming X?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's the Gaming X." He's like, the bundle was like $450. He spent $450 for a 9700X, this motherboard, and 32 gigs of memory. And I'm thinking, do you know how to use BIOS flashback? And he's like, what is that? He doesn't even know what it is. So I'm like, you got to update the BIOS. Your motherboard doesn't recognize your CPU. Your CPU is too new for your motherboard. So he's like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. So what I did, here's what I did. So I went and I took my 7700X, Zen 4, 2022 CPU. I brought it over to him. I was like, let's swap your CPU with this older CPU that I have, and we're going to boot into the BIOS and see what BIOS this motherboard shipped with from the factory. Because I didn't want to update the BIOS yet. I knew, like, okay, we could just BIOS flashback and get past this. No, I want to know what this motherboard came with. Because I want to know what Gigabyte or Micro Center is doing wrong. So I put the 77, we take out his 9700X, we put in the 7700X, we turn it on, it immediately does the memory training, and guess what? It comes up. We go to the BIOS. Guess what version it's running? It was running... where is it? Did they remove it from their site? I think it was running this, I believe. Or no. It was either 1101 or one of the ones like this one. No, yeah, maybe it was 1102. It was either 110. No, it was one. It was a BIOS from like early 2024 is what I remember. Or was it 2023? Basically, the BIOS was older than the 9700X, so it didn't recognize the 9700. It was the exact problem that I described, that I said would happen. So I showed him, I'm like, hey, your motherboard shipped from the factory with like 1101. That BIOS is dated December 23rd or December 17th, 2023. You bought a CPU that launched in like August of 2024. So there's a problem. The problem is the motherboard doesn't, the microcode doesn't know what this CPU is. So we have to update the BIOS. So I updated him to whatever the latest one was. You know, this was back in 2024. It was probably like this one, like 12.1200 or 1170. 1170 is a very famous BIOS, by the way. This is the BIOS that adds support for Zen 5. So this is from May of 2024. But I know for a fact that this one works with Ryzen 9000 CPUs. Because certain vendors were shipping motherboards with 1170 and we're never having this problem. Because even though the BIOS was from May and the CPU came out in like August, this BIOS supports Zen 5. So the people who bought a motherboard that came with this BIOS, they were totally fine and they didn't think it was defective. But the people like my cousin who had a BIOS from 1101 from like December of 2023, yeah, that's not gonna work. So they have to update the BIOS. So this is a problem though, because, you know, like I went to Micro Center, I told the salespeople, like, you guys have a problem here. You're selling motherboard, you're selling a bundle with a CPU where the motherboard doesn't recognize the CPU. So I told them, you're going to get a lot of returns. And the guy was telling me, he's like, we're well aware of it. So we're trying to get Gigabyte or whoever, in this case it's Gigabyte, to take back the motherboards and ship us ones with newer BIOS. And I'm thinking, that is wild. Imagine having to, like, do an exchange at that level, at that scale, where you're a reseller having to effectively do a return slash RMA of literally maybe thousands of motherboards just because the vendor, in this case Gigabyte, shipped you, or maybe it was like a VAR or somebody, a distributor, that shipped them like a whole bunch of motherboards, literally thousands of motherboards that don't even support the CPU that you want to bundle it with. Like, that is some crazy stuff. But yeah, the point earlier about memory training, yeah, man, a ton of people just don't know how to just wait for DDR5. And it's not like you don't have to wait on Intel. You got to wait on Intel too. A lot of people are like, oh, well, Intel. No, the reason why people don't notice it with Intel is because people were buying Intel with DDR4. That's why. You go and pair Intel with DDR5, and it does have the memory train. The biggest difference that I've noticed between Intel and AMD when it comes to DDR5 memory training is Intel will do the training, and then whatever Intel does, Intel has some kind of algorithm that locks in the values, and it locks them in somehow better than AMD's Zen 4. Because what I remember with 13900K and 14900K, whenever I power cycle the computer, the boot time after the initial memory train. So you clear those CMOS, it has to do the long memory train. But after that, every time you restart the computer, one thing I notice is that Intel doesn't take as long to do a secondary training compared to AMD. If AMD has to ever retrain the memory, AMD takes longer than Intel to retrain. Intel, for some reason, caches the values better in some kind of memory management table. Maybe something with the management engine that they have or something. So it doesn't have to like do a full train. AMD does something similar using something called memory context restore. Memory context restore basically does some kind of, I don't know if it's like caching or like writes it somewhere to like a non-volatile memory somewhere on the motherboard or what. I don't know how they do it exactly, but AMD is able to do something similar to what Intel does. But AMD, when AMD does memory context restore, AMD's subsequent reboots are faster than Intel's, but the problem is, I think occasionally, and this is especially true for Zen 4, aka Ryzen 7000, is that occasionally AMD does require a full memory retrain that takes just as long as the very first memory training, the first time you put the computer together, or from a clear CMOS. I don't know why it does that or has to do that. And Intel, from what I know with Intel, Intel doesn't have to do that. Intel is able to store the values somehow long term, where it doesn't have to ever do, as far as my experience using Intel, I have never had to see Intel 13900K, or especially this new Intel Core Ultra, which is even better when it comes to the memory stuff. It's never had to do a full memory retrain unless I am messing with the memory settings in the BIOS. Then it has to. But AMD, for some reason, Zen 4 was notorious for having to do this. Zen 5, this is another reason why I like Zen 5, aka Ryzen 9000, so much more than Ryzen 7000. It runs cooler than Ryzen 7000, and it also does a much better job memorizing the memory train results, so it doesn't have to do a full memory training. Like, I have rarely ever seen my Ryzen 9000 series CPU ever had to do a full memory retrain the way I saw many times with the Ryzen 7000 series. So yeah. So this is the reason why I like Zen 5 a lot more. Because for people who are not super technically inclined on these topics, they're going to think there's something wrong with their PC. Or it's slow to boot up and they don't understand why. And they start researching things online and they get bad advice because people don't know what they're talking about. So, yeah, that's why whenever people come to me and they're like, oh, what motherboard should I get or what CPU should I get? I immediately direct them to like Ryzen 9000. Unless they really, really want Intel, then I push Intel Core Ultra. But yeah, like Ryzen 9000 feels so much more refined in that regard when it comes to the memory compared to Ryzen 7000. That's the reason why even back when the 7800X3D had all those really good deals, I still told people to ignore 7800X3D and get 9800X3D instead, knowing full well that it's more expensive, but the memory, quote unquote, issues are not there. It worked like it's way faster at memory training. It doesn't have to do full memory retrains the way Zen 4 did for whatever reason. So yeah, man, like Zen 5 all the way. Zen 5 all the way, 100% Zen 5. If you can't get Zen 5, then maybe Intel Core Ultra, but that's basically it. Tuning RAM on AMD CPUs is so much easier than on an Intel RAM. Yeah, well, I mean, kind of. It depends on what you mean by tuning RAM on AMD CPUs. If you're talking tuning RAM on AMD CPUs, it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go into the BIOS and just max out TREFI and call it a day? I mean, that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll say this: AMD is much easier to run at like DDR5 8000. Raptor Lake is really hard to get running at 8000. If your decision is Raptor versus Ryzen 7000, you would still get Ryzen 7000. Well, one thing I will say about Ryzen 7000, there's a couple. Let's talk about. Let's list some negatives. Let's list some negatives about these CPUs. Let's get rid of all this stuff. So let's list negatives of all these CPUs. I'm just going to tell you the things that I've run into. So let's start with Raptor Lake. 13th, 14th. Lots of power. Runs to 100 degrees Celsius on Noctua. I mean, there's literally live streams of me showing this, guys. You remember the Monster Hunter beta test that we did back in around Thanksgiving of 2024? Remember my 1300K? People were so afraid of my 1300K, and I'm like, yeah, it's 100 degrees, but that's what's saving it from dying to voltage problems. So that's the problem. There was the voltage degrade issue, which is largely resolved now, but yeah, that's a pretty big one. Can't run 4 sticks, or can't run like 2 DP seat 4 sticks. 4 sticks. Dual rank 2R. Well, I'm just gonna say can't run 2R 2 DPC above 4800 mega transfers. So that what this basically means, for those that don't know what this means, is you cannot run 128 gigabyte or 192 gigabyte or 256 gigabyte RAM above 4800 mega transfers per second. If you're lucky, you will get 4800 mega transfers. Otherwise, you're stuck at up to 4400 mega transfers reliable. But for 100% stability, you have to follow Intel's official spec, 3600 mega transfers, maximum speed. There's a reason why all of my how to run 192 gigs at 6,000 are all Ryzen based videos, because you cannot do that on an Intel CPU. If you could do it, I would already have a video about it. I've wasted days trying to make that video. And that's why that video doesn't exist, because you can't do it. It is physically not possible on a Raptor Lake CPU. So when Fake Frames is talking about tuning RAM on AMD is so much easier than Intel, he is absolutely right, because I challenge anyone, try to get, okay, well, this type of memory is kind of unobtainable right now, but in a normal environment, try to get 192 gigs or even 128 gigs at DDR5 6000 on Raptor Lake. Try to do that without corrupting your operating system kernel. Yeah, try to do that. Have fun with that. I know a thing or two about that. So, yeah, can't run this above 40. We'll just leave it at that. I'm actually going to change this to 44. Okay, so these are the negatives of the 14th and 13th gen. So what's the negatives of Ryzen 7000? Negatives of Zen 4. Let's see the negatives of this guy. Obviously, the most instant one, long memory. Okay, it's not so much long memory training. It's periodic, or I guess requires periodic, like full memory retraining. I do not understand why it has to do this. Intel doesn't have to do this. Ryzen 7000 has to do this. I do not understand why it has to do this. So, meaning, even if you enable memory context restore, every now and then, it's almost like once a week or once every 2 weeks, if you restart your computer or if you turn it on from a cold shutdown, it has to do memory training. I don't know why. Why are we seeing code 15? Code 15. Why are we doing code 15 when we already did this the first time we built the computer? Is this a BIOS bug? Is this a platform limitation? I kind of think it's the latter. So that's like the biggest negative in my mind. The other one targets 95 degrees Celsius. It targets 95 degrees Celsius. That means it will boost and boost and boost and boost and boost until it hits 95 degrees Celsius. I mean, that's pretty much it. Those are pretty much it. Those are the negatives. You know, you can run 192 gigabyte at 6,000 if you know what you're doing. I don't recommend it. Realistically, I recommend 5600. I feel like that's much more obtainable for a lot of people. But yeah, you can do it. You can run DDR5 8000. Oh, that's another thing that I forgot to say. I guess on Intel, difficult to run RAM at 8000. Regardless of motherboard. Regardless of motherboard. Yeah. That's another problem with Intel. Like with Ryzen, it's actually easy to run DDR5 8000. As long as you have a good motherboard, you can do it. This guy, Silicon lottery all over the place, man. It's silicon lottery it's a coin toss everywhere on all these things. But yeah, those are the negatives. All right, let's talk about the other ones. Negatives of Core Ultra. Negatives of Arrow Lake. This is Core Ultra 200 series. So what are the negatives of this guy? No hyper threading. No hyper threading. So you have a loss in thread count versus Raptor Lake. You literally lose threads. So, I'm trying to think what else, because I remember I played around with memory. It is still difficult. Well, no, that's more an issue with cooling than anything else when it comes to Arrow Lake. It is actually well behaved. I actually prefer Arrow Lake over Raptor Lake in a lot of subtle ways. And it's not so much a performance difference, because fundamentally, side by side, you will never notice the difference between Raptor Lake and Arrow Lake in terms of the performance numbers. They're too small a difference to notice a difference in like gaming or productivity. But what you will notice is that Arrow Lake runs cooler. It doesn't generate a lot of heat. It doesn't kill itself with voltage. And it supports QDIMM. So in theory, with proper cooling, you can reliably, and with a good motherboard, you can reliably run high-speed memory on Arrow Lake. So in a lot of ways, it is superior to Raptor Lake. So, really, the one negative thing that I can think of is no hyperthreading. That's the only one I can think of. So that's pretty solid. So Zen 5. The negatives of Zen 5. Ryzen 9000. There's not a lot of negatives about Ryzen 9000. Ryzen 9000 is pretty good. It is a lot like Ryzen 5000. And that was an exceptionally good CPU from AMD. Zen 3 was top dog, man. That thing was legendary. But Zen 5 is also quite good. I'm trying to think of a negative thing about this CPU generation. There's not a lot of them that I can think of. You can run 4 sticks of memory really good. Single rank can clock to 8,000 with a good motherboard reliably. If you want to do 4 sticks at dual rank, tune it to like 5,600 or maybe 6,000. You can do a lot of stuff with it. So it's like, I'm trying to really, really think, like, what's the negative thing about this CPU generation? It's top dog in gaming. It's top dog in productivity. For most apps, like, its cryptography performance is like the best in the business. Like, it's got AVX 512, full fat, single clock cycle. It's got everything, man. Like, I don't know. It's super good. It's super good. Power consumption is comparable to Arrow Lake, and in some ways it's better than Arrow Lake. Yeah, man, I don't know. Zen 5 is really, really good. This is an interesting way to evaluate CPUs, though, because I feel like reviewers, when someone reviews a CPU, they're looking at it with a bunch of like benchmarks and metrics and numbers. But what I'm more concerned about is the everyday usage of the CPU. All those medical benchmarks, I could care less. I'm never going to use any of that software. Those are completely garbage numbers, in my opinion. Like the gaming numbers, they matter to me because I play games, but to some other person who doesn't play games, it doesn't matter. Those are useless benchmarks. Are we talking? So you're saying AV1 encoding? I guess if we're talking the desktop CPUs, you have a point there. Because the laptop ones do have AV1 encoding. All the mobile, like Ryzen AI Max, Ryzen AI 300, those are all Zen 5 and they all have AV1 encoding. So the AV1 encoding is there. So it's like it's hard to say that as a negative when there are Zen 5 CPUs that do have AV1 encoding. So, because if you're going to say no AV1 encoding, okay, if you're going to say no AV1 encoding for the desktop CPUs, you know what we're going to have to do? Guess what? No AV1 encoding. Oh, guess what, Raptor Lake? Guess what, Raptor Lake? No AV1 encoding. So no, we're not going to do no AV1 encoding because then the only guy who has that is Arrow Lake on desktop. So that's no. No. So no. Because Raptor Lake doesn't have AV1 encoding, Zen 4 doesn't have no. Besides, if you're on a desktop, most likely you have a discrete GPU, and the discrete GPU will do the AV1 encoding. So I don't know. That's kind of like a weak point. The AV1 encoding thing. Let's put it this way: AV1 encoding cannot be counted as a negative. It can only be counted as a positive for Arrow Lake desktop CPUs. So you can't say that's a negative if 3 guys don't have AV1 encoding and 1 guy does. You know what I'm saying? Ryzen Pro has AV1 encoding, I think. 8700G has AV1 encoding. Guys, dude. Ryzen AI Max has AV1 encoding. Ryzen AI 300. Basically, all the Ryzen laptops that are Zen 5 all have AV1 encoding. So this AV1 encoding thing is a stupid argument because none of these other guys have it either. So like I said, you can only count that as a positive for Arrow Lake. You cannot count that as a negative for the other 3. And we're not looking at positives, we're looking at negatives. AV1 encoding matters to me. I'm using it right now. I'm using it right now for this live stream. But I'm using a GPU for it. I'm not using a CPU for it. See what I'm saying? That's why it's like, yeah, it's nice to have. It's nice to have. I could use the CPU. If the CPU had it, like if I was using my Arrow Lake right now, I could use my Intel 285K to do AV1 encoding for this live stream. I can't use any of these other CPUs to do that. So, yeah, no, I know what you're saying. You can do it. Yeah, but we're talking about I assume we're talking about desktop CPUs, not server CPUs. So, but no, it's a nice to have. It's a nice to have, but like I said, that is a positive for Arrow Lake, not a negative for all the other 3. Because then you can't put something on here that overlaps. Meaning you can't put a negative that is common to like multiple CPUs. Because then now it's not a unique negative thing. So I'm really still trying to think like what is a negative thing about Zen 5? You know what I'm saying? Like I think I just thought of one. Less price competitive. Because it's top dog in like so many things, it ends up being the most expensive option. So therefore it becomes less price competitive. So that would be the negative. Because it's so good at everything. Like 9950X3D is like the dream CPU, man. And that kind of brings us full circle to one of the other topics of this episode of Tech Thursdays, and that is that rumored 9950 X3D2. Yeah, this guy. AMD unleashes the Ryzen 9 9950 X3D2 Dual Edition, the world's first CPU with dual 3D V cache, 5.6 gigahertz, 208 megabytes of cache, and a 200 watt TDP. The Dual Edition with dual 3D V-cache tiles with cache scaling up to a phenomenal 192 megabytes. Wow. The company has made prototypes of chips with their Zen 4 architecture. That's Ryzen 7000, but has stuck to a singular stack design until now. The rumors of an ultimate dual CCD and dual stacked X3D chip started floating on the internet back in August of 2025. I'm really curious to see how this is going to work. It makes me wonder, did AMD do kind of like a Threadripper type thing like what Intel did? Because they kind of need something like that for this to truly shine the way it should, in theory. So, they're saying that this is unlocking a new future of computing for developers and creators. Now, I don't know if this is really that good for gaming. Because if you look at these results, most of what they're showing, at least from what I can tell, content creation, rendering, these are all like heavy workload. These are like multi-thread type things that probably benefit from a bunch of layer 3 cache or level 3 cache. So, I don't know. It still remains to be seen if gaming will benefit from this. Like I said, the only way I can see gaming benefit from this is from some kind of thread director like functionality. So notice that nothing here is mentioning any sort of gaming benchmarks. So I don't know. It still kind of remains to be seen if this will actually be significantly better than what we've already seen on other dual CCD CPUs in terms of the gaming performance. Now, they did say, I think in the Tech Power Up article, it said that where did I read this? Yeah, it said right here, AMD is offering gaming performance rivaling its latest Ryzen 7 9800X3D part, but with significantly improved productivity performance. Okay, so what I wonder, what does this actually mean? Is this something that the person who wrote the article is inferring, or is this something that AMD actually implies? Because those are two completely different things. And oftentimes when reporters or journalists put stuff out on the internet like this, if this is just something that he thinks is going to happen and not something that like AMD is hinting at, then this could basically be setting the product up for unrealistic expectations. You know what I'm saying? So, because for all we know, this could end up performing worse or the same as the 9950X3D, which is slightly slower than the 9850X3D. So I don't know. Keep in mind that this thing also runs at it's like 100 megahertz lower max boost compared to the 9950X3D. And that's because on the 9950X3D, the second CCD that doesn't have the 3D V cache, it can run faster on its cores because it can dissipate the heat more quickly than the other one. So this one doesn't have that luxury because both of them are stacked with the 3D cache underneath. So I don't know. To me, it's still an interesting product because cache is king, and that's certainly true with these CPUs when it comes to gaming. And it looks like it's also true for productivity. So either way, I mean, this completely, I don't know. We'll see. April 22nd. So that's like a month, like a little less than a month from now. How many weeks is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like 4 weeks from now. A little less than 4 weeks. So anyway, guys, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about on this episode of Tech Thursdays. So if you're new to the channel, we do these deep dive discussions around technology. It's usually we're talking about GPUs, sometimes CPUs like this. Sometimes we talk about motherboards. Anything related to building a custom PC for the purposes of gaming or productivity or whatever. So if you like this sort of content, this long form open discussion with the audience like this, do get subscribed to the channel and do hit the notification bell icon so you get notified when I go live. Because sometimes I do, in addition to Tech Thursdays, sometimes I do gaming live streams on the weekend. So we may do one this weekend. So if you want to tune in to watch and hang out, hit the bell icon to know when I go live. Otherwise, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys this weekend or next week. Until then, take care, and I'll see you then. Thanks.